Mega Mike, the Ghost Man, for you all tonight. We are celebrating the Ghostbusters films. So, how this stream is going to work tonight, we're going to go through every single Ghostbusters movie with this amazing Ghostbusters panel. We're going to discuss them all. We're going to have a fun time just loving on Ghostbusters tonight. And then we'll also talk about the future of Ghostbusters at the end. But before we bring out this amazing panel for you all, just a few reminders here. If you love Ghostbusters, like we all do on this panel, go ahead and Proton Pack, blast that like and subscribe. That way you keep entertained and up to date on all this movie goodness. And who are you going to call to read your comment live? You got to hit us with those super chats, of course. And then if you have ideas for streams, don't keep them locked up in a ghost trap. Help them escape through those memberships to get you exclusive perks like choosing future topics. So if there's a franchise out there you love that you want a whole discussion panel for, you sign up for the highest tier membership, you can definitely request one of those every single month. So definitely consider that. But let's go ahead and bring out this amazing panel for you all tonight. Let's go with the Ben Ghostbuster. How we doing out there, Ben?
Boo, I'm a ghost. No, don't be scared. It's just me, guys. It's just me. Don't be scared.
You almost scared.
I'm doing great.
There's Ben. There's a ghost. I'm
doing well, Mike. Thank you.
All right,
he's just chilling out watching the stream. So thanks for having me on, Mike. I'm great to be here. I mean, I remember watching my favorite of all time, Extreme Ghostbusters, all the time growing up. Yes, I know I liked the real Ghostbusters, but I'm more of an extreme fan. So just loves what they did there and how that was a more modern take of everything of the Ghostbusters stuff. So,
see, already a more Ghostbuster fan than me because I haven't seen any of the shows. So, you know what? I didn't even know there was an Extreme Ghostbusters. I knew there was the real Ghost. I didn't know about the Extreme one. So, that's great to know. All right, let's go ahead and bring out another massive Ghostbuster fan here. We got Something Pure Hangout. How are we doing out there?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I love the Ghostbusters. I'm trying to think, like, I was only a few months old, I think, when the first one came out, so I didn't see that one in the theater. But my dad and I, as I was growing up, we watched it all the time, quoting it all the time. But I did get to see the second one in the theater. That was not my first movie, but one of my first movies in the theater. And yeah, I don't know. I grew up loving them. I watched real Ghostbusters. I actually didn't get into Extreme Ghostbusters like Ben did. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe it was in high school or college when that came out. I can't remember, or I was just missing when it was on. But that's one I would like to get to because that's really the only thing I'm missing in terms of TV movies when it comes to Ghostbusters.
But man, you saw Ghostbusters 2 in theaters. I did not have that opportunity, so that sounds like a super fun experience.
Oh yeah.
Ben, did you end up seeing those all in the theaters?
Nope. No, not at all. Like I've seen the last two in theaters, but I haven't had the opportunity to see any of the other two yet in theaters.
Yeah, for me, it was all just watching it on TV when they would pop on. All right, let's bring out some double trouble here tonight. We got Nate and we got Alex from Geeks and Flicks. How are you guys doing out there?
Doing pretty good.
Doing very well.
I love how Alex is decked out with all the Ghostbuster stuff, and Nate is like wearing a Dodger hat.
In the Dodgers suit.
I got a Mets. I got a Rock. The Rock WrestleMania coming up. I got the Rock. Yeah. Okay. So for Ghostbuster stories, to be honest with you, I thought Ghostbusters 2 was the first Ghostbusters until I turned like 10 because that's the one I saw when I was a kid. And then I saw part 1 after, enjoyed it quite a bit. I was not born when Ghostbusters 1 came out in the theater. However, in 2014, for the 30th anniversary, I did see it in the theater when they re-released it. So I have seen part 1 in the theater. So that was kind of cool. But I'm probably I'm going to tell you right now, I'm the least Ghostbusters fan out of everybody on here. So I'm just going to try and bring a different perspective, and we'll see how it goes. And hopefully I don't make anyone mad. But probably Alex will get mad at me. But
I feel like I'm going to be on your level, Nate, because I feel like compared to these experts here, I'm new to it.
The pros.
I'm new to these.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, Alex. I don't know. Are you a Ghostbusters fan? Who knows? I'm not sure here.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. No, well, for myself, I watched Ghostbusters. My first encounter with Ghostbusters was the cartoons, the Saturday morning cartoons with the real Ghostbusters. Watch those. Then from there, I didn't get to see Ghostbusters 1, of course, because I was born in '83, so there's no way I can see it in '84. I did not get to see a chance to see Ghostbusters 2 in the theater. But I got to see Ghostbusters 1 in the theater, which I loved when they re-released it. And I mean, I loved it. And then ever since then, I saw, Afterlife, Frozen Empire. Extreme Ghostbusters, I remember watching, I know it was like 2 volumes of it or something like that. I remember watching the first few episodes. I did buy the new DVD complete set that just released, which I was like so happy because now I completed my entire set. But yeah, I thought it's pretty cool. And I read the comics and stuff, but yeah, that in terms of Ghostbusters, that's it for me. But yeah, I started with the cartoons with Arsenio Hall as Winston. No one remember that. And then Jesse from not Jesse, what's his uncle? The other one, the one that does the
Joey.
Joey was Peter for a couple of seasons in the cartoon, so that was pretty cool.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Let's unleash this first one right here. Ghostbusters 1984. Man, feels so long ago, doesn't it? 40 years ago. Woo.
Yikes.
All right. Been a Ghostbuster. Let's talk about the first one. How'd you like this one?
As a guy who loves physical effects, the puppetry with the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper were in the dog form were fantastic. I mean, the puppetry of some of their ghosts that they made into puppets so that their way they can actually film it properly when they are interacting with the team. I like it. I'm glad Eddie Murphy did not play Winston. I'm glad after seeing this movie the first time I did it, when I first heard about that, Eddie Murphy would have been being Eddie Murphy. He would have tried to crack too many jokes. He would not have played the straight man to Aykroyd and Murray the way Ernie Hudson did. So I think having that thing in here, you have 3 scientists, you just have a random guy who just needs money working with them. I think that kind of balanced out the team, kind of, in my opinion, made it seem like anyone could be a Ghostbuster.
Yeah. There's a steady paycheck in it. I'll believe in whatever you want.
All right, Peer Hangout.
I guess just to kind of bounce off of what you said, I know we'll talk about this movie a little bit, but had Eddie Murphy been in the film, I think it would have been a little too Ghostbusters 2016, where everybody in that movie is trying to compete for who gets the funniest joke. And yeah, like you said, I think it's great that Ernie Hudson got the part and Eddie Murphy was busy making Beverly Hills Cop films. But yeah, this movie, it's extremely quotable. I think it's one of the most quoted movies that I have, I think. And I think for everybody. I mean, this is heavily quoted. I forgot my Miller beer. I was going to, it's Miller time, but I didn't bring that with me. But yeah, I grew up, watching this with my dad, quoting it with my dad, still quoting it with my dad. And I think it's a near perfect movie with only like a couple tiny flaws. Near perfect, couple tiny flaws. Should I bring those flaws up, or do we want to keep
going? Hey, call it out.
So when they are, again, I just gloss over this stuff. Like, it doesn't bother me anymore, but it's like stuff that I noticed as I was growing up. But when they're looking for the firehouse and they're checking it out and they're trying to get that lower price on it, you remember like Bill Murray and Egon. Venkman and Egon, they're talking about how terrible it is. They're like, this place should be condemned. But then you have Ray coming down the pole who's like, I love this place, we should move in tonight. And then it cuts to them getting a loan, if I remember right, a loan or something like that. And then Ray's character is all like bummed about it now. Like, he's like, you didn't even try to get a lower price or anything, or get more with the loan. I can't remember exactly how that's played out, but his excitement level has completely changed, and it almost seems inaccurate for that character based on what we just saw. That part always bothered me. Well, not always bothered me, but when I grew up, I was kind of like, hey, I don't know if I don't think that feels as cohesive as it should be.
See, he was down for the fun times, but when he had to put up the money, it was like a third
No,
mortgage.
I think you got it backwards. I
Was
think
it
you
the
got it
other way?
backwards. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
he got the loan first, and then they went to check up on the firehouse.
Yes.
That's how it went. And then Egon
what
is
it
hitting the thing. He's like walking down the street, going like, your interest rate is like 19.5%, which is like, I was
Right.
like, what? Like Egon knew that shit like mad quick. But yeah,
Well,
but yeah,
it
you got
was
it
also
backwards.
his parents' house, if I'm not mistaken.
Their farmhouse.
Yeah, their farmhouse, and it was like his third mortgage too.
Yeah.
It seemed like he said too. So it's like, yeah, and it was Peter who just said, yeah, we'll go for it, no matter the interest rate.
So yeah, and I guess some funny ways that I've thought about it. You're right that I did mess that up. But I guess kind of how maybe I try to justify it is maybe he's like getting back at them. It's like that was my family's home that you got rid of. Now I'm going to make us pay out the nose for this place. Like he knew what he was doing. Probably not, but yeah, his intensity has changed so much between those two scenes. I eventually got to a point where I thought that's a little strange. It still works though as individual
In the
scenes.
neighborhood.
All right, Nate, how do you feel about this one?
This movie's great. I do love me some Ghostbusters. 1984 Ghostbusters. I enjoy it. I think it's very funny. And I think it is I think the chemistry really works between all of the leads. And I think that plays a big part into why it's enjoyable to watch. When you have actors who have chemistry probably off screen as well, like they've worked together and Saturday Night Live and other movies and things like that, you could kind of tell. And I've always liked the setup of this movie. I think, one thing that this movie does really well is that it's very simple. This is a very simple movie. There's a lot of effects. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. But as far as a premise goes, three friends and a guy who becomes friends with them open a business, and the business happens to be busting ghosts in New York City, where apparently there's the most amount of ghosts you ever seen in your life. So, and it's sort of just the comedy ensues from there. Like the premise is moderately funny, but then them, learning this, being beginners essentially of a startup company, and that being a paranormal company. I mean, it leads to a lot of laughs, I think. And I love the cast. I love Sigourney Weaver in this movie too. I love Rick Moranis. I love Rick Moranis in everything, but he's so funny in this movie too. So yeah, I think it's just kind of a blast of a movie. I enjoy it thoroughly, and I remember too. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, I live down here in Florida, and so they used to have here in Universal Studios. They used to have a Ghostbusters show, and I actually saw that show after seeing Ghostbusters 2, which again I thought was the first Ghostbusters. And that show, if you could look up clips on YouTube, they have a lot of clips on YouTube. It was great. If you like this puppets and all this stuff, they did a lot of like Pepper's ghost effects in there. So it looked like there was ghosts flying around in there when really it was just like reflections of animatronics and stuff. And they would come out and bust a ghost, and there was a giant marshmallow man head. It was super cool. And then they closed it for freaking Twister. So RIP to that attraction. But one of my base memories of Ghostbusters is that, even as much as the movie, honestly.
I had a T-shirt from that attraction when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My first trip to Universal Studios, I remember getting that T-shirt. I didn't see the show though, but I got the T-shirt. They were still selling them.
I used to want to be they used to do crowd participation. So like they would have a guest come up and put on this little hat. And I always used to be like trying to get in it, and I never did. But the show was cool. It was really cool.
All right, Alex.
All right, 1984 Ghostbusters. I mean, I like it. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right? With Eddie Murphy. because honestly, we really don't know how good he would play Winston because he did Trading Places and he wasn't a comedic going crazy. He was with Dan Aykroyd. And honestly, Trading Places is Winston. If you really look at it, that could have been the Winston character. So I think Eddie Murphy would have pulled it off. But my problem is that he would have became such a big commodity that I don't think they will have him for 2, 3 Afterlife. And they would have to ask for so much money. So in terms of like that, I think everyone's thinking of Eddie Murphy now. I think Eddie Murphy in the 80s, I think he would have been really well bouncing off of all these guys. But Ernie Hudson really great. I'm not saying he's horrible, but I think Eddie Murphy, I don't know. I think there would have been some funnier scenes with him as Winston. But anyway, other than that, Ghostbusters, I mean, one, I think it's fun. I love the sarcastic comedy. I'm a sarcastic person anyway, so I love all that stuff. My favorite scene is when they first when they bust Slimer for the first time and they don't know the prices, and Bill Murray and Peter Venkman is like giving him prices, and you see Egon putting up like, oh, that's $4,000 to entrap a ghost. It's like, I thought that stuff was funny. But if you really look at it in a nutshell, there was a lot of like sexual stuff with Peter and Dana. I mean, he just met Dana, he's already throwing himself at her. So there's like some stuff like that, but my favorite chemistry is Egon and Ray. Those two characters to me are Ghostbusters. So I don't know. I just like the way they bounce off of each other. They have a true friendship. And then Ray and Winston, they do great. Other than that, in terms of the Terror Dogs and Gozer, that final piece to me was cinematic as a kid. I was just like, holy hell, how these guys are gonna just freaking close these portals and all this, and then they did it, and I was like, oh man. And then at the end you had rabbis and you had everyone in Manhattan screaming Ghostbusters. That thing is like mad cool. Everyone's covered in marshmallow. I was like, this thing is awesome. Like, I was like, I'm there. So like for me, Ghostbusters 84 will always be a classic. So yeah.
All right, before I share my thoughts, we have to shout out Dude Who Loves Movies with the $5 super chat tonight. National Lampoon presents Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good. Get slimed this summer, coming soon. Oh man, dude, that is so awesome. Thank you for supporting the channel. I mean, all I can say to that is
thanks for doing this. It really means a whole lot.
There you go. Thank you again, dude. I much appreciate that.
Dude, going all out with the national. I love that. Was so funny last week. The national Lampoon thing. Yeah. I would see a movie. I think I might see a movie called National Lampoon Presents Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good. I think I might. At least watch a trailer. I'll tell you that much.
I don't think it would be that type of movie.
Oh, well.
Get slide this summer.
Let's go. Your disco Ghostbusters.
It's coming soon,
Yeah.
All right, so Ghostbusters 1984. So I haven't seen this movie a whole ton. I think probably about 4 or 5 times now. I rewatched it again last week, and I really liked it on this rewatch. This movie is like low-key kind of funny. It's not like super laugh out loud funny the whole time, but within the line of dialogue, there's just those funny moments, like Bill Murray testing the people with the cards, the students, and then he shocks the guy and he's just doing that. Like, that's just a funny moment. Bill Murray is on point in this movie. Like, sometimes I don't get the Bill Murray humor in other movies, but in this movie, he is hilarious. He is the funniest Ghostbuster by far. He is so good in this movie. But all the chemistry, like you guys said, you guys nailed it. The chemistry between all the Ghostbusters, you're right. It's just like 4 friends hanging out. You got Winston in there, which gives you that, gateway into being relatable because he's just your every guy. So that's awesome. And then you got the super scientist with Egon. And then you have, Dan Aykroyd as the heart of the Ghostbusters. I love how they call him that later on. And then Bill Murray is just the funny, like super wacky, just don't give 2 F's one. I love that. And then, oh my gosh, you guys are so right with the creatures and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the end. Like that moment when I was young and I saw that on the TV the first time, I'm like, what the heck is happening? Why is there a giant marshmallow guy? Like, come on, little marshmallow guys, right? I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is great. But yeah, the writing is so strong here. And who wrote? It was Dan Aykroyd and
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis. So they both wrote it together.
Yeah.
The script.
Well, the thing is, like if you look at the history of the Ghostbusters and they talk about it, Dan Aykroyd wrote the entire thing. Then they brought in Ivan Reitman, and then Ivan Reitman looked at it and he was like, "This shit ain't gonna work." So they brought in Harold Ramis, and then they stood away in like some beach somewhere, and they brought all their families, and then they wrote the movie. But Jason, the son who did Afterlife, he did something in one of the specials. He took the original Ghostbuster script out of Ghost Corp, and they were reading a little bit, and none of those scenes, the guy was like, this scene was not there. Bill Murray and all of them improv almost all the scenes that everyone loved. So, like, the thing is like, I think they said like 70% or 80% of the movie is all improv. Like, pretty much them goofing around. Like, when they were going into the elevator, remember that in the hotel? And the guy goes, "Oh, where are you going to here?" And then Bill Murray says, "Oh, there's going to be a 12-inch like cockroach, and he's going to bite your head off." That you see Dan Aykroyd laughing, and then they go right in. That was improv. like so stuff like that. It's like, oh, when he called Walter Peck dickless, that wasn't in the script. And then Winston, I think Winston's line, when he tells the mayor, he's like, "Dear mayor, I seen shit that'll turn you white." That was not even in the script. You see all of them laughing in the background. So, like, that's the best part about this movie. The movie balances well between seriousness and comedy, and I think that's the best of it. Like, so that's the cool part.
I got one thing to bounce off of the part when they're in there with Peck or the mayor or something.
Yeah.
When I guess this would be like another nitpick that I have, like a little tiny problem I have. When Venkman says dogs and cats living together, one of the best lines, but I wonder how many times or how many takes that took. Because if you look at Winston in the background, he's nodding his head to the rhythm of the way Bill says it. Like maybe that was like the fourth take or something like that. But he is smiling. So you can tell that they were having a lot of fun with that scene. But yeah, he's smiling and he's like dancing to the rhythm of that. And that's become distracting to me. So I always have to keep my eyes on Venkman and stop looking at Ernie during that scene.
He's like, "This is my favorite part. He's doing my favorite part."
And Peter's always slapping Ray in this movie. Literally slapping him. I mean, he slapped him in like, I forgot, in the beginning also he slapped him. And then towards the ending of the movie, where Egon's like, "We have to cross the streams," and he goes, "Cross the stream," and he slapped him. He was like, "This is a good idea, man." I was like, "Why are you slapping this guy?" Like, I would be annoyed. Like, man, improv, you're taking this way too extreme right now. A little violent there, Peter. Like,
slapstick. A little slapstick, literally.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just mentioning that moment with the crossing the streams, that's another good script moment where they kind of foreshadow it. They mention, okay, you don't want to cross the streams, but then it comes back later in the movie. I love stuff like that, how they have stuff like hidden at the beginning, but then it plays out later. I just think that's such good writing. Yeah, it's a very nice tied up story. So I don't have any issues with it. See, hang out. I got to go back and watch those scenes now. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice.
I hope I didn't ruin that for everybody watching.
Well, I didn't even notice that before. But yeah, it's a funny movie that just everybody can enjoy. Like, now, what's the rating on this movie? Is it rated R?
PG.
PG-13?
It's PG?
No,
Okay.
PG.
Probably just PG, right?
Yes.
Oh.
I always thought of it as a family movie.
Check your 4K in the back.
I have it right here. This is a very solid PG.
Wow.
I don't think PG-13 was there yet when this movie came out.
No.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right.
I think Temple of Doom? Was it Temple of Doom?
It came out after Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this would definitely be PG-13.
It would have been.
Yeah,
it would have been
hardcore.
There's some humor in there that definitely kind of pushes it to the edge where you're like,
yeah, there's some sex stuff in this that is not for kids.
With what Ray gets in bed from that ghost. Remember he's laying.
Yeah, the blowjob.
Yeah, getting that blowy.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you got Sigourney Weaver.
What was that?
Looking like this. There's the whole thing with her and the Keymaster and there's like a lot of sex stuff there, and like, you know, it's not really. This is not a movie for kids.
I wouldn't
call it. Yeah, I wouldn't call it like, it's not R-rated, but it's definitely would be PG-13 if that rating existed.
But you know what? The humor probably flies over most of the kids. Like, like they probably
I didn't know what was going on when I finally saw it. I was like, I don't understand.
I mean, you see it now. There's a lot of questionable stuff. Like I said, between Peter and kicking it to Dana like super fast. Even that one line, he goes, "Oh, we're gonna take her. I'm gonna take her to the house to check her out." And he was like, "Oh, I mean, to check out the thing." And he's like doing that.
And she's all like, okay with it. She's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's go.
Another funny scene though, because Egon and Ray's eating Cheez-Its while he's acting stupid, and I was just like, "Oh, I love these guys. I was like, they're so dumb." But yeah,
Oh man, it's such a good movie. And well, let's just for funsies. I know we're not really doing our rankings tonight because we were so close, but just by show of hands, was this number one for who? Who said this was number one on their list?
number one. Oh,
Yeah, that was everybody pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I
mean,
was
it's
the
gonna
only
be
one that
from
was
2
gonna be-
on, where I'm gonna be different. I already
Okay.
know. But this
I was
was
going to be a little
my number one.
spicy on this one and move this down below another one, but
Well-
we'll get to that when we get
Well,
to that.
we didn't bring this up, and I'll say this before we go to part 2. We didn't talk about one of the most cinematic cars in movie history, the
Oh,
F1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when that door opens and you see the little fog, and then you hear the and I was like, "Holy shit!" As a kid, I was like, "This thing is awesome." Like the car is just so iconic. Flying through New York, not in traffic because I live in New York. There's always
There's
traffic.
no traffic.
Yeah, in Ghostbusters world, there's no traffic, but in real world, that shit would have been stuck right in the firehouse. There ain't no way getting up there.
All right, I got a question. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is something I always wondered. Let's see if the Ghostbusters guys here can tell me. Ben
Okay.
Buster, Alex, Pure Hangout. Mike, I know you're not going to know, so don't even worry about this question.
Well,
'Cause if
thanks
I don't-
for your confidence. I'll just leave now. Okay.
If I don't know this, I don't think you're going to know this.
I probably won't.
Okay, so I never understood, and I don't know if it's explained elsewhere. I don't watch special features. I don't know. I don't dig in. But in the movie, I never understood the ghosts of the movies in the sense that some of them look like people and some of them look like what the heck is Slimer? What is that? I don't know if
Belushi.
they're yeah, I don't know if they're supposed to be like demons, but they don't really say demons. They say entities, paranormal, and some of them look like dead people, and then some of them look like weird, and it happens more so. I think even in like the new movie, there's like a dragon. I'm like, what is going on? I just feel like I wish they explained some of that better, unless they did and I missed it.
I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, Alex. I think that has something to do with those that have passed over or not.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Come back as a dragon.
No, like for instance, Slimer
No,
was-
no. Like you're still stuck on Earth. You have to finish something before you can actually become an actual ghost.
I
Think of
still don't
Ghost
get it.
Whisperer.
So like
Think
look
of
at
Ghost
look at-
Whisperer, the TV show. She helps ghosts move on because
Yeah.
they're stuck there on Earth
It's like Casper.
because they have
That's
to
like
do
the movie
something.
Casper.
Yes, like
Yeah.
Casper.
But what I'm saying is why? Okay, so in Casper though, all the ghosts look like the same, and in this movie they are like Slimer. He doesn't talk. He's
Yeah.
just
Well,
a
my-
green
so-
blob. Like
my
it is-
belief-
Maybe that was the person. He was a
my
little short
my belief
person
in
with
that
love beauty.
in that stuff, Nate. I mean, it is
Yeah.
a great question because like let's just use Slimer, right?
yeah.
Slimer was supposed to be Dan Aykroyd said was John Belushi. That's
Oh, okay.
because he always eats. So if you literally think about it, eating a lot is what sloth. What's that?
No glutton.
Gluttony. So that's pretty much that ghost. It's gluttony. He's always eating. Now the food goes all over the place, but that's all he does is eat.
He's not an actually dead guy.
That we really don't know. Like what
Well, they
manifests
didn't
that.
explain it. That's all I'm kind of asking.
I don't think Ghostbusters never alluded to. They just making it like, oh, this would look cool, like mad
Yeah,
special
okay.
effects. So,
That's
but
fine.
like,
yeah, it's not really a
Yeah.
complaint. I just always
Yeah.
wondered, like, what?
I-
Why?
And I always,
I mean,
I question that too with the cabbie. Do you remember the cabbie that is like
Yeah.
a zombie? Like
That was so
everything
cool.
else is
Yeah.
a little translucent, but the cabbie was a zombie that looked like he crawled out of the grave. And I always noticed that too as a kid. That's kind of strange. And the cartoon wasn't out because I think the cartoon sort of widened it, so that's why we
Yes.
have the
Yeah.
dragon. Because the cartoon it was like demons, just like maybe even they're not using these terms, but maybe like interdimensional creatures, or
Yeah.
something like that. I mean, I can't even remember how did they describe Gozer? Like Gozer isn't necessarily like a ghost.
I think she was like a god, like a not transgender. I mean, like a non-binary, like is a guy or a girl.
He's a
like,
transgender guy.
Not a transgender.
No, I think,
what
I
I'm
think
saying
she's
is,
more like from
a-
interdimensional type
yeah,
thing that makes
like
more
a-
sense for
yeah.
that
Right.
character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she asked, "Are you a god?" Right?
Demons. You always say.
Yeah, she's like
yes.
like how you said, like that ghost. Like I always thought as a kid that cabbie got killed in a fire in the cab. And that's
right.
why he looks like that.
Yeah.
But again, I always had like a fucked up imagination. I always made up shit like, oh, this character could have been,
Yeah.
this got hit with this train or something. But like in like Ghostbusters 2, right? Those two guys, like the Scaneri brothers, they got electrocuted.
Yeah.
So that's why you see them in electricity looking all like a zombie / ghost.
But-
But like you said,
but
Derek,
yeah,
it's
that
true.
goes-
Cartoons.
But
So
that goes back to what Nate said too, because
Yeah.
the Scoleri brothers kind of look humanoid, but they're not necessarily
Right.
humanoid.
They're
And then
very
you have the what is it, the librarian?
Yeah.
In that
Who looks normal, but then gets all
Yeah.
scary.
when
Yeah,
you come near
exactly.
her, that's her like
Yeah.
her little playing possum. Hey,
So-
little.
So they have a little control over.
they
what
were just
look
too
like.
loud. The reason she
Yeah.
scared them is because they were too loud in the library. That's the reason.
Think of Beetlejuice, Nate. Remember how like the lady tells what's her name, Barbara and Ben Affleck, Alec Baldwin, that they
Yeah.
had to change their
Alan.
to scare people? Maybe it's like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I always wondered it though. Every time I watch, I'm like, damn, why does it even in the new movie, which we'll get to later. But I'm just saying, like, you have that girl, she just looks like a girl, like
Yeah.
but blue. And then in the opening scene, they're chasing a dragon that looks like the Chinese New Year. And I'm like, I don't get it, but I will go with it. We'll just go with it. I don't know what's going on.
No, I get it.
Man, you guys are picking apart this movie. I'm like, it's a comedy. Does it have to make so much sense?
No,
Yes.
these are just things that I didn't wonder these things till I got older. When I was a kid, I didn't
Yeah.
really care.
Yeah.
Then I'm older, I'm like, wait, what's the thought process there? And yeah, it could have just been these look cool and we like it and it's funny. Slimer's funny. So I'm fine with it. I was like always confused.
All right. Oh, we also have to mention the songs, right? The Ghostbuster iconic.
Oh, that's
music.
One of the best
Yeah.
best movie
So
songs
good.
ever, honestly.
One of the most memorable. Oh,
Yeah.
So good. And like you guys said, all the equipment stuff. I mean, Alex, you're wearing the jumpsuit right now. You just think of everything, the proton packs, the ghost traps. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the design of all the equipment was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know how Dan Aykroyd thought of all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I literally do not like. That's crazy.
I'm wondering if he was walking through a hardware store and goes, that would look good with this hooked on or something like that, or just seeing a random stuff at like a Goodwill or something and be like, hey, I could put all this together and create something with it.
I don't know, man. If you look at the original Ecto 1 drawings that he did, it looks exactly what you saw in the movie. Like a little tweak here and there. I mean, other than that, his friend made the logo, that no ghost logo.
Mhm.
So,
Oh,
and
the
that's
ghost
like the
trap was
most
just in-
iconic logo there is.
He saw a dumpster and said, "This will look really cool if it was small. We just make a little dumpster." And then the other thing is just a garbage chute, but it's on the wall and we put him in there. Inspiration, New York, you know.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what the budget for this one was. Does anybody know that offhand?
The budget for Ghostbusters 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean they did a lot with whatever budget they had.
Yeah. What
I
is
don't
it?
think
Thirty?
it was that
This is a
high.
Pinbuster thing. He always knows these weird facts and stuff like that.
Was it in the 30s, like 38 or something? I feel like I've looked it up, but I don't remember.
30.
It was
The budget
30.
was 30 million.
Wow. They were
Well
able to do
spent.
Yeah,
so
30 million.
Yeah.
And it puts the new ones to shame.
Right.
much. All right. well, let's continue this Ghostbusters train.
Do another one for 30 million.
Let's go Ghostbusters to 1989. And I was kind of surprised when I was checking out the dates. 5 years later, does anybody know why it took so much longer to come out with a sequel? I would have thought.
Oh,
it was
so
like a couple or
pretty
2
much-
years.
Pretty much, I think after this movie, almost all of them, I mean, they all started doing projects, and then Sigourney Weaver, Aliens, and all that crap. And then Bill Murray's the one that held up, I mean, all the movies in terms of, I don't know why, but yeah, he held up everything. And then part 2, they just, bloop, 89. That was their biggest mistake. If they could have pumped another one right behind it, we don't know.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2 would have been different. But yeah, Bill Murray held up everything. Ghostbusters 3, we had Ramis, all that stuff. So blame him.
Shout out to Bill Murray.
Shout out to Bill Murray, you ass.
Yeah. They did. That is the biggest mistake. They squandered so many years. I mean, they
Yeah.
squandered the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. Like it's too bad that they didn't just pump them out. I mean, I don't know.
Because the
All right.
video game, if you played the Ghostbusters video game, when they all voiced they lended their voice, it could have been a movie. I mean, and then Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis wrote it, and that was a movie in its own. And I was like, wow, this could have been a part 3, which is everyone's technically calling it Ghostbusters 3, but you guys could have just put this on screen with the original cast. But it's a shame, Bill.
Yeah, Bill wasn't into it, and he had that. He and Harold Ramis, when they made Groundhog Day, kind of
the fallout.
Yeah.
He choked his ass out. He said, "Blow!"
Until I think Harold was on his
deathbed.
And then that's when they patched things up.
That's messed up, right? If it was me, my man Egon, I would have been like, your brother. I don't want to see your fucking face. Like, don't come now. Like, could have been doing Ghostbusters 4, 5, 6, and 7, bro.
Right.
But no. But yeah, that's crazy though. That's nuts.
All right, Hangout. Since you're something pure, how about you start this one off?
Okay, something pure. What I have written there for my name that comes from one of the tiniest quotes in Ghostbusters 2 when they decide, how are we going to fix this situation? I know, the Statue of Liberty. But this one, the cartoon was out at this point, Real Ghostbusters, and that sort of transformed some characters, specifically Janine. She's much more cartoonish in this one. And I guess I don't really have a problem with that. I don't know. There was a time period when I was like, I don't know. This one feels a little bit too different. Again, that was when I was getting older, like when I was in high school or college. It felt a little too different than the other one, because I felt that way about Winston too. He was maybe a little sillier than he was in the first one. I liked how he was just the, I don't know, an everyday person, but they were kind of giving him silly scenarios, like when he's in the subway, the train thing, and I live in Illinois, so all of ours are elevated. So I don't know what that's called in New York. But, and
the subway.
That is the subway.
Yeah, the subway station.
Yeah. So I don't know. There were some differences there, but there's still a lot to love with it. When I was a kid, I didn't notice any of this stuff, but as I was getting older, I was like, I don't know if I like this one as much as I used to when I was a kid. But then Vigo, the effects aren't as good. I don't know. I think the cartoon maybe seeped in a little bit, but the cartoon's also not that silly. When you look at the Ghostbusters, it's sort of everything surrounding them is silly. But I don't know. I still like it. I feel like I'm sounding like really down on this movie, but I still like it.
It's okay. We're critiquing it.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, how do you feel about this one?
I love Ghostbusters too. Now, I agree with what Derek was saying. There's a lot of changes from part 1 to part 2. I felt like it became more corny and campy.
Yeah.
But I liked it. For some reason, I don't know. To me, it felt right with the film. I know it is corny and campy, but for some reason, I guess with the Ghostbusters, it worked for me. I was just like, wow, we got more of them busting ghosts throughout the city. They're back, and the Ecto-1 got upgraded, right? It looks more heavier than the other movie. They added more shit on top. So I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Vigo, I agree. Vigo, in terms of he's corny. He's in the painting, and then at the end, you see him do more stuff. But I don't know. Like, the character is very, like he said, it's very real Ghostbusters. Whereas you went from Gozer and the Stay Puff, now you went to a dude in a painting.
Yeah.
And
the budget was probably bigger.
No, it was lower. It was 25 million.
Oh, okay. Well,
it looks like
those effects we were talking about.
I'll forgive it then.
Yeah, I think the 25 million went straight to that Ecto-1 because that's the only thing that looks suited up. Like, they all got changed new suits, right? They have the black with the red, which I think they look better, but they just use it in a couple of scenes. The navy blue suits is the most iconic one that everyone knows. The navy blue with the 2 logo. In terms of the movie, yeah, it's very cool. I don't like the Janine stuff. I felt like they just threw it there I don't know. Janine and Lois love triangle thing did not work for me. It just came out of the blue. It's like, oh, I want to have a baby. And I was like, what? Like, this just came out of the blue. Like, okay. Like, cool. Peter, I don't know. It just felt a little bit weird when you see them come back on screen. But then when they start to put the suits on and then it started to, for me, it flowed. When they did the river of slime and they're going through the slime and then they're fighting each other, they run into the restaurant and interrupt Peter's date. I thought that's all Ghostbusters. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then they go to jail. They meet the mayor. Like, all that stuff was pretty cool. And then they go into the psych ward, which was even funnier. I was just like, okay, this is cool. But between the first act and the third, I felt like there's just some wiring work had to go. So, but I like Ghostbusters too. And the soundtrack is amazing. It's a great soundtrack for that film.
All right, Ben, how do you feel on this one?
I think the villain's kind of lacking. I think Vigo was kind of lacking in there. You just had someone, you just had a Gozer coming in who's ushering in the end of the world, of the apocalypse, and all this guy wants is he sat on a throne of blood. and wanted a baby a la Ra's al Ghul and just wants to live forever. I mean, to me, it sounds like almost a plot that you would see in like Dracula, more so than a Ghostbusters movie. That kind of threw me out there. What also threw me out there is, who is Oscar's daddy? Like, we have no idea. Like, that's the thing. It's like, who was that? And did you guys ever feel like this movie was like 4 Ghostbusters and a baby instead of 3 men and a baby?
Yeah.
It kind of figures like especially when they're all together with the baby. It's like, we're paying. I understand it's a MacGuffin in the movie, the baby, but it was done way too much. I think, okay, we understand the baby's here. You don't have to show us the baby almost all the time whenever they're with the Ghostbusters.
I think that did become annoying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that usually as a plot device anyway. Like, oh,
and I think that's why
added to the cast.
It's also why it kind of seems like it's more on the humor side of things. That it was more like they try to be funny, throwing in a bunch more slapstick type of stuff because you have that baby element in there. And it's like, oh, we could be goofy around the baby, and it makes sense. So, but I also like the fact that since it was 5 years later, they put in the beginning of the movie 5 years later. Dun dun dun. And I love the fact how you just saved the world, yet no one treats you guys with respect. You guys are doing kids' birthday parties and no one wants you. I'm like, where did all that animosity come from? Between
He-Man.
between 84, like, were they too good at their job?
Well, I mean, it's New York.
Or was it just that, so it was kind of just those little things there that kind of irked me.
New Yorkers are just mean.
Yeah, New York. You can save the world now? The next day they hate you.
What have you done for me lately? Type of people.
And by lately, I mean in the last 5 minutes, because if it's past that, don't care anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you look at their sports teams. Yeah, you kind of get that they're fickle. Yeah.
Hey, come on, man. Yeah. You're right, though. You're not.
You ain't lying. You ain't
lying, Ben.
Yeah.
All right, Nate. How do you feel on this one?
All right. Here we go.
You said this is where your order starts to change a little bit.
This is where it changes, and this is where I get maybe controversial.
Is this your favorite?
Not. No. No. So this is the one I saw first.
Least favorite.
This is the one I saw first as a kid. This is what I thought was Ghostbusters, because I was like 5. I mean, this movie came out when I was 2. So I didn't see it till later anyway. And I was like, oh, yeah. I had to be about maybe 10 or 11. My friend's like, oh, yeah, you ever seen Ghostbusters? I'm like, yeah, with the guy in the painting, and there's the pink goo. And he's like, that's Ghostbusters 2. And I was like, I didn't even know that there's a 1. So anyway, as a kid, I thought this movie was pretty good. I think after Ghostbusters 1, none of these movies needed to exist. I do not think that this is a true and proper franchise in the sense that they had a lot of stories to tell. It is not that. And so the rest of these, I'm not saying I hate them. I'm just saying I don't have any. I love the first one, and I don't really have like a love for any of the other ones. And on top of that, this one, as I watched it as an adult, I think Alex, I might have told Alex this before, but I watched it as an adult and I didn't really like it. I don't even own part 2 on disc. I don't have it. I just could not get into it. I think I echo a lot of the negatives that you guys did have. I agree. The baby stuff is weird. And this could have just been because it came out in 89. And you had like since the last movie, you had like Look Who's Talking. That's a baby movie. And you had Three Men and a Baby. And then and maybe babies were just the thing. Like, let's throw it in. We could make some comedy out of it. But the comedy doesn't work for me as much in this one. It does not. It's not as funny as the original one. And I agree. Whoever said it wasn't like super funny, like haha constantly. I think that would have been that said that. It's witty though, and there was a lot of humor, even if it's not like gut laughing. And this one, I just found it not. I found it lacking in a lot of departments. And I do agree that the soundtrack is cool. Like the music's good. And I don't think it's a horrible film by any stretch. I just think it is nowhere near the original. And I liked it better when I was younger than I do as an adult movie watcher. I'm not really that into Ghostbusters 2. So,
yeah,
not one of my favorites.
Man, so tough on this one.
Sorry.
Nate.
Sorry.
I do agree, though. None of the sequels should have been made. We should have had only the first one, and that just be a perfect film, a standalone film that it just is iconic and lasts throughout the ages because it's so good, not because we've made sequels to it and trying to get the name, the franchise continued. But because that one was made, because 2 was made, I feel like they have to keep making them until they make one as good as the first one.
They just keep trying. And
yeah, that's where I'm at with sequels.
Yeah, and I'm cool with like the cartoons. That makes sense. You know, you have this movie, big hit, do cartoons, aim it towards kids, toys, all that. Love it. They could have merchandised the heck. I mean, they did, but they could have, even with the one movie and the cartoons. That's fine. But as films
even a
go,
live action TV show would have worked.
Sure.
That'll probably happen, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't. It feels like when you're watching it, it feels like a movie that doesn't know why it even exists itself, other than the first one made money. Let's do it again. And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the problem that I have with 2, I mean, we're in the cons now, and I'm sorry, Mike, is, and I think I told Nate about this. When a movie like this happens, it's hard to do something new in the same area that the movie is based off of, meaning New York, right? Let's say part 2, they go back to the mayor and they go, this is happening, the slime is rising, blah, blah, blah. And the mayor went, what do you want me to do? I don't believe you, so get out of my thing. And then they were like, oh, we're going to go and tell the tabloids, and the guy threw them into the psych ward, right? Then all of a sudden, when shit hit the fan, they're like, whoa, you got to get me the Ghostbusters, because they were right. And that's the problem when I have this type of movie, because it's like, well, if you do another sequel, then you do another sequel, how many times are you going to tell the mayor this is happening? And he's going to say, ha, you lying to me? Are you lying to me this time?
There was a giant marshmallow walking around the streets.
It's
like
stomping on churches.
Yeah.
Yes.
It gets to the point.
Not to mention the destruction of New York.
The building was falling apart.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, nah, this time you're lying. This time, we don't believe you.
That's the problem. It's like, that's the thing with the sequels. It's like, and we're going to get to them, but my thing is like, how can you write a proper sequel when you have to make it fresh? Whereas the mayor is going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to give you all the disposal, the army and whatever you need to bust this ghost. But I don't know. It felt weird in this movie that the mayor was like, nah, I'm not helping you. Like, what do you want me to do?
I can't remember now. I should have rewatched it. But it is like the mayor's right-hand man claiming that maybe the Ghostbusters are doing this so that they can stay and work. Is that right?
Yeah, and he felt like that pretty much where Walter Peck felt like they were a bunch of balonies. This guy was just like, he was kind of similar to Walter Peck, but a little different. Like, oh, they might be telling the truth, but how about you tell the psych ward? How about you go and tell them in case? So it's
kind of like what someone said about the first one. They mention it when he's hanging down, when Ray is hanging down there grabbing the slime. Oh, I've been working in this subway for years, and I've never seen anything like that. They put that there. They put that there. That construction worker in the mayor's office.
Right.
That's where it was really like, oh, you don't believe us or something here. Oh, look, there's a slime that we've been trying to tell you about. Even then, they still don't believe him.
Right.
Yeah. There was a river a river of slime
Yes.
in a abandoned subway, and no one went down there to even to check to see if the guys was like making it up. Like
And a pristine abandoned subway too.
yeah, like man. So I was just like, yeah, okay, all right.
Sorry,
But I
Mike.
love
What
the
did you
movie.
think?
Sorry,
Man.
Ghostbusters?
Man, everybody's just tearing it apart, and I'm like, I
The
like
turtle
this
should have shown
one.
up.
I enjoyed this movie. To me, it's pretty close to the first one in enjoyment levels for me. Yeah, I still put the first one over it, but I think it's a good sequel. I mean, what else they're gonna do 5 years later? They played off of that the best they could. I like how they dealt with the fallout, and they have to work the birthday parties because hey, they need to get by. Their business isn't doing good because all the ghosts are gone now. That makes sense. So to me, from a writing standpoint, the story makes sense. I like the ooze stuff. It reminds me of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, The Secret of the Ooze. So I thought that was really cool. There's some funny moments with like the construction scene, and they all start talking with their construction like Brooklyn accents. I thought that was hilarious. And I like the ghosts. The electrocution ghosts are really cool. They kind of look like Muppets a little bit, but in a good
Yeah.
way. So I like that. I thought it was fun. It was silly fun. The painting ghost villain, yeah, not as good as the Puff Marshmallow Man. That's obvious, not as good. But I thought it was a decent sequel. I didn't have any complaints with this one. I thought the chemistry was still there between the actors. I thought Bill Murray was still funny in this one. So I didn't have any major issues with this one, but man,
You know,
you guys were tearing it apart. I'm like, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
You made a
sequel.
point there, though, and Alex kind of alluded, Mike, you made a point as far as like, okay, 5 years later, they got all the ghosts in New York. Let's just say. Something Alex said that I think would have worked extremely better is just move them to another city. Is New York the only city go to Chicago, go to LA?
It's like the Marvel comics, only
Like,
New York. Okay, it's
only New York has ghosts. Or even if there was a thing of like they show these other cities and they have their own versions of the Ghostbusters and they suck.
Yeah.
So then these guys have to go in. There's so much other things you could have done other than we're just here in New York doing birthday parties and we're sad pieces of crap. And then we just got to wait till something happens,
Yeah.
Moving them, I love, and we'll get to it in the new one. I do think New York is a major part of the story, but they still could have used it while moving them because, hey, you guys cleaned it out. You cleaned it. You the only game in town. You cleaned it out. There's a big thing in like LA because that's a very different city look, but it's still a very major city. So I just think there's other things they could have done than let's just do New York again. And this time we'll use the Statue of Liberty. Will be the big thing.
Nate, you're
Instead of a
making me
marshmallow.
like this movie more though, because now I'm comparing it to The Dark Knight Rises, where it's like Bruce Wayne is just waiting for things to go bad again in Gotham City. Same with the Ghostbusters. They're just playing it cool for now, waiting till business picks up. And then there they go.
Well,
They
but
love
sure.
New York.
But
They're
you
New
really
York
look at,
people.
but the cool thing about part two. Now, again, I shitted on it or whatever, and I think this
Ooh, the
one, I
Statue
like
of
this one a lot.
Liberty. Come on, you
Right,
can't have
but-
without New York. Don't have the Statue of Liberty scene. You need that.
Fair.
But
That's
I think New York in this movie played a bigger role because all the hatred generated the moon slime, and then it just bursted out. So I was like, okay, you know what? It was cool. It had so that was the fun part. And let me tell you, growing up as a kid, when I saw part two, that Ray scene turning into Vigo scared the shit out of me. Was like, Ray, get out of the way. We like to shoot the monster now. And he turns like, I am Vigo. And he was just like, and I love Egon's face. He was just like, and then he just shot him. He's like, holds him. And I loved it. But I mean, there's a lot of negativity, but at the end of I could put this movie up against a lot of other sequels that came out.
Yeah.
And this one is way better. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, in terms of films, everyone has their own opinions, but in terms of a movie, this one has to be up there with a lot of other sequels. It's part two.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nate's like,
Nate,
I don't know about that,
bro. You're gonna get slapped up, Nate.
fair point, but not for this guy.
Man.
I'm gonna take your bucket. Keep talking about it.
I'll send it to you with a copy of Ghostbusters 2 on DVD.
Don't even give him the
I have
Blu-ray.
the
You get
DVD.
DVD. That's
Yeah,
all
give
you
me
get.
the Betamax.
I'm gonna get
Give
you
me
a
the
Japanese DVD that you can't play.
Yes.
Doesn't
I-
work.
Okay,
Scratch.
yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Now, fun fact: I have all the Ghostbusters movies from Betamax all the way up to 4K, like everything from Laserdisc to Betamax,
you-
VHS,
UMD.
Criterion
USB.
Laserdisc?
That's right, huh?
Do you have the Criterion Laserdisc? Do you have it on Criterion? Nice.
Look at this.
Nice
Ah,
and
the
shiny. That's
Man,
it. Yeah. It
Do you
was
have the
autographed.
red also?
Which one?
The red. It's
red?
Criterion, but like the red one.
No, that one was that one is hard to get. I want to get it just to complete the set, but I have
Yeah.
part 2 Laserdisc.
You'll find
nice.
it.
And then I have the special standard play edition laser, whatever the hell this is. Now, this is like I don't know what the hell this is, to be honest with you. It's like a limited edition version because there's like a numbered here in the corner somewhere.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
like a floppy disk like falls out of that, right? Or maybe a record or something.
I don't know what the hell this is.
Yeah.
All I know is I was like, oh, yeah, this could go in my collection. I was like, sure, I'll get this. But yeah.
all right. Well, man, if you guys tore Ghostbusters 2 apart,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Oh,
know what you guys
Jesus
are gonna do with this,
Christ.
but
Oh.
let me start off with this because I'm gonna give some positives just to start it off. Okay. So Ghostbusters 2016, right? Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
Mhm.
So I will say I do like the acting talent in this movie, not how they perform in this movie with their performances, but if you look at what they've done on SNL and things like that, you think, hey, these are pretty good actors. You think you can make a good movie out of this. Now, does it turn out good when they're brought together with this script? No, it doesn't. No. The performances here are all over the place. It feels like they're trying to be funny, but it's very rarely funny. And I think that's the problem. I think they're trying too hard to make it a super laugh out loud comedy, and it's not natural at all. That's the problem with it. But I like these people. I mean, Hemsworth, I like Hemsworth. He's done great stuff before, but with the role and the script he's given, like that character doesn't need to be there. He's like dumb to a level where it's not even funny, it's annoying. And then they keep doubling down on the joke again and again. That's the problem. They double down on so many jokes that aren't funny.
Like that wonton soup.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
For the whole fucking movie, she's trying to get the right soup.
Yeah. So
they
What was
have
that?
these jokes that I feel like they didn't screen test these jokes before because I don't know how anybody would laugh at some of these jokes.
Yeah.
And then they keep going back to the same jokes over and over again. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to be positive. Wait, those are more negatives.
Why
Okay,
are we
positive,
doing this?
positive. All right, okay. I will say
Why are we even
the
talking
effects, the visual effects are decent here. Like Slimer looks better in here than Slimer in Ghostbusters 1. Right now that you compare them, of course, being decades later, you're like, okay, yeah, Slimer is a little wonky in Ghostbusters 1. This definitely looks a lot more updated. So visual effect wise, I think they did a decent job for the time. So no problem on the visuals. I like the different equipment they give them. Like they're using different types of stuff instead of just the one proton blaster now. They have different things to work with. That's cool. They're trying to spice it up a little bit. Man. I like the Ghostbuster logo, like they do the logo in the train station, right? That's how they come up with the ghost thing. I thought that was fine.
Oh.
But was the music decent in this one? I feel like the soundtrack was okay in this one. Let's see. Any other positives here? Oh man, I think I ran out of positives.
When you start to go, that's when you know you're
I'm stretching here. Okay, the story, it's like the plot, the premise, the plot of the movie by itself. If you pitched me it, I wouldn't say it's terrible. I would say it's pretty much like run-of-the-mill standard, but I wouldn't be like it's awful. I think this movie becomes truly awful on the execution of everything. Yeah. Like it has potential. Like if you told me some of the ingredients up front, I'm like, okay, we could make a decent movie out of this. But it just doesn't come together at the end. But Ben, I know you're ready to tear this one apart. I try to be positive. That's all the positives I got. But
sorry, man, we're gonna break the shackles.
We talked about how we thought Ghostbusters should have moved on from New York, and this would have been their perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah,
to move this cast to a different location, so that way you'd be like, no, why isn't my Ghostbusters that I love in here? Why isn't this original team that I have 2 movies of already in here? Because it's in a new location, not in New York, where these guys would still be.
Yeah, there's a
at that point in time,
sort of thing.
Exactly. And don't get me started on Melissa McCarthy. She's not funny. There's nothing you could show me to prove that she is funny. I can't stand her.
In everything or this?
And everything. I thought she was good in
You just hate her in life?
I can't stand her.
She was good.
I can't stand her.
Oh
I don't
gosh, she's
find
hilarious
she's
in
funny
Bridesmaids.
at all.
I love her in
Ben
Bridesmaids.
hates
I
Bridesmaids.
thought
He said, this girl's not funny. I hate this movie.
she was
Where
a
did it become a
she was
meme. 5
part
men
of Bridesmaids
talking
I
about
hated.
Ghostbusters.
She was a part of Bridesmaids I hated. I don't find her funny. Kind of like how I think
Ben hates her.
Eddie Murphy might have ruined the first 2 Ghostbusters films.
Confirmed.
in
Ben
that
Buster
opinion.
hates Eddie
But-
Murphy and Melissa McCarthy. You heard it
Hey,
here
that's
first.
like a buddy cop movie in the
I
future.
think-
Let's go.
I'll watch it. I'll watch that buddy cop.
I think I think like for me, what takes me out of it too is you're telling me this is a Ghostbusters film, but like I said originally, there is no original tie-ins at all to the original movie, just in name only, and
It's a
what they're
reboot.
doing. So it's kind of like it should have just moved on. It should have been in a different scene, a different location, and I think it would have been perfectly fine.
I like that idea. Take him to
Yeah.
like the
So
bayou
yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
If you were going to reboot because of the death of Harold Ramis, then this would have been the perfect time to reboot with someone with a different group in a different location. That's why I think for me it fails, because you're invested already in the original characters, in the original Ghostbusters, and they're not in this movie at all.
I mean, yeah.
They do have a couple references though, right? And I felt like, was there a cameo in this movie at all or no?
Yes.
Yeah. I think
Dan
all-
Aykroyd plays a cabbie.
Bill Murray is in
There
it
you
too.
go.
Bill Murray and Winston.
Yeah, you get some cameos.
They're all in there.
Or
You know.
not Winston, but
Yeah,
Ernie Hudson.
yeah, but they're not. If you're saying it's in a different universe, then make it into a different universe, or even if they were in somewhere else. Like
I
I
think
was
it's
saying,
diverse.
That's what it
you
is.
see
It's a
Dan
different
Aykroyd on
New
that
York.
screen, you're expecting Ray Stantz.
Hmm.
You're expecting Ray Stantz once as you see Dan Aykroyd on that screen.
But like
No
the,
ifs, ands, or
the-
buts.
the 8-year-old girls who this was like aimed for, like what the original movie was aimed for at us, this movie is aiming for people who don't even know who those actors are, so
That's true.
it
Because
didn't really
came out
bother me.
This came out
Well,
32
cool.
years after the
at
original.
89. Yeah.
32. There's people who were not even born when the first came out, and then we're like 30 when this came out. So
It also for me might just be the way comedy has changed since
that's true.
Yeah.
since what I like in the 80s and 90s. It's like I'm not a fan of a lot of comedies today.
Mhm.
And I love comedies, so it's one of those things that's like after a certain standpoint, I'm like, I don't find this funny anymore because it's all kind of the same type of humor. Let me be loud as I can be, so I can shout out over everyone else in this movie, or let me try and get in my let me try and get in my paycheck's worth of jokes, and because this is where having someone like an Ernie Hudson would have came in handy. You don't have all comedians buying time. Fine for time, fine for their screenshots. That's why SNL, the main repertory characters, work the best with those ones who are hardly ever seen, who only do the bit parts, because you put everyone in every sketch or every scene, they're just going to try and outplay each other. And that's where I feel for me as well, where this movie fails as well.
All right, hang out. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with the whole thing of everybody is trying to get the best joke in. It was very like written, like every joke felt written or improv. You could feel that. Where when you watch the original Ghostbusters film, that one, they don't really feel like comedians acting to me. They feel like your friends who are really funny. Like you have a friend that's super funny, right? And that's kind of like what Venkman is. And I don't know, I think that's what I like about it. The humor feels very natural, and the humor in 2016 doesn't feel natural at all. It all feels very written or extremely improv and loud. But what I do like about it, I think you mentioned the equipment already, Mike. I love that. But also the Ecto. As a kid, I didn't know that the original one was an ambulance. I always thought it was a hearse until I got a little bit older. So using a hearse, I thought was cool because I was like, oh, I always thought that one was a hearse when I was a kid. So it's cool that they're actually doing that. I love the Ecto. I think it looks great. And the suits, the flight suits or whatever their types of suits are great also. Like I remember that first image that was released, I got so hyped for this film because I thought they looked amazing. And Holtzman especially, she's kind of, I think, my favorite one. And I think there should have been just one silly character and it should have just been her. Everybody else should have played it normal. Like she could have been like a mix of, I don't know, because she's kind of silly, like Lewis a little bit, So I don't know. I think we could have kept her, and then everybody else should have done something different. But yeah, the equipment's good, and I like the steelbook cover too. So that's about it. I can say the equipment, the costumes, the Ecto, and the steelbook cover. That's about all I like.
But yeah, I think you're onto something there. Hang out with saying the too many comedians. If you just had one really good comedian in there, that was more natural because Bill Murray was that comedian in the first one, and everybody else, they had funny moments within the situation,
Right.
but they weren't like known as, oh, that's a funny person too. That's a funny person.
Yeah, they took a back seat.
Yeah, much more balanced, definitely. All right, Nate, you're smiling over there. I don't know if that's a good smile or a bad smile.
Favorite.
Listen, we're taking a little. I'm gonna take us on a little turn here because I don't hate this movie. Definitely not as much as everybody else here. I don't think it's a fantastic film, but I think there's more. So the thing with comedy is, especially like as a genre, comedy is the most subjective. Bin Buster doesn't like Melissa McCarthy. I think she's quite funny in a number of things. Now, I'm not saying I don't think anyone is always funny except my Jim Carrey when I was younger. Everything he was in was funny. But, unless it's like your favorites, it's hit or miss. And I've liked her in a number of things. I think Kristen Wiig is actually hilarious. So, it depends on if the comedy style works for you. I laughed at this movie way more than I laughed at Ghostbusters 2, or either of the new ones. So I think this is a funnier film. Afterlife's not funny at all. And Frozen Empire, I chuckled a few times. And 2, I don't really like that much. I think 1 is still a better comedic movie. But a lot of the talent in this, I'm cool with. I think Kristen Wiig's funny. I think Holtzman, what's her name? Kate McKinnon. I really like her. I know, Alex, you like her in this movie, but I like her in general. I think she's a very funny actress. I like the director, Paul Feig. Like, I love Bridesmaids. I think that's a hilarious movie. He also directed Spy with Melissa McCarthy. I think that's a very funny movie. So, like, this is not, when this came out, I remember seeing this, and I remember it was getting all the backlash. Everyone on Twitter, the women, we don't need the women Ghostbusters. And it was the whole, and I don't really tend to judge movies based on stupid crap like that. I just go see it and then see if I like it or not. And I thought this movie was okay. I thought it was okay, and I laughed quite a bit at a lot of the jokes. I do think Holtzman is the best character. She's like eccentric and weird, and with all the gadgets and stuff, I thought were pretty cool. As a story, I don't think it's that good. But as a comedy, I laughed quite a bit. So it's really just going to be if that SNL style, like modern SNL, especially at the time, style of humor works for you or doesn't. And if it doesn't, this is going to be miserable because I don't think it has like much else going for it. But if it does, hey, the story is not great. But I laughed. I laughed quite a bit. So I don't hate this movie. And to piggyback on one weird thing, like Derek liked the steelbook cover, and the 4K of this is one of the cooler 4Ks where the effects go over the lines. The black bars, if it's widescreen, when they're shooting stuff, it goes over the line, almost makes it look 3D on a 2D screen. So that's kind of a cool effect. I wish more movies did it. I don't know why they don't, but this on 4K actually looks pretty cool just because of that. Other than that, like, the music sucks. Yeah, I don't like any of that. Like, I don't like the re-version of, like, there's like a Fall Out Boy song or something. I don't it. And there's like a big dance number thing. Stupid. But there's a number of jokes that I did laugh at quite a bit. So I don't hate this. I don't love it. But I don't think it's like a piece of trash, personally.
does the Blu-ray is it only the 4K that does that, the 3D look?
I'm not sure. I've only seen it at home on 4K.
Okay.
But I know for a fact, like when they're shooting the Proton Pack, for example, the streams will like go over on the black part. So
That's
it almost
awesome.
looks 3D. Yeah, it's really cool. It's like a cool effect.
Because I actually haven't watched this yet on here. But yeah, I wonder if it does it on this, because I don't know. I kind of want to
If
see
you hate
that.
it, just put it on and go to the action parts and see if it happens.
That's true.
Yeah, just to see. But I thought it was
would be
cool. I was
funny.
like, damn, why don't more movies do this? Like, give you a
Yeah.
little bit of a 3D TV is not really what it is. That gives you kind of the effect without having to wear glasses or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also kind of like some of the ghost designs too. When you mentioned 4K, I was like, I bet they look really cool in 4K. Kind of almost like neonish or something. I like how
I agree.
how they separated. That was a good separation where they did push it sort of away from what we knew. Where in other times it's like, well, we are we're trying to be like the other movie, but we're also not, and it feels a little wrong. But that one, I like the way they pushed that boundary.
Oh, and one more point I meant to say, and this was, to Ben, just to counter, this is a full-on reboot. This is not supposed to be in the same universe as the original Ghostbusters, really. It's like, because if you're going to have Bill Murray, you got all these, they're playing totally different people. So it's a reboot of the franchise. And I think they don't have to necessarily be beholden to whatever the original did. It does not have to be, like similar or the same or anything like that. I don't think they necessarily had to change the location because this is just a new version for a different audience. So I was actually perfectly okay with that. And as far as the story goes, like I said, I think the first one has a great story. So it's not a big deal to me that they changed things like that, because I don't even think there should have been any sequels. And I'll die on that hill.
Mm-hmm.
By
All
myself.
right, Alex scratching his head over there, rethinking his friendship.
Alex
with
hates
me
this
now.
movie.
No, this movie's a piece of shit. There's no green light at the end of the look. I'm gonna be honest. The problem with this movie, I have no problems if it was all four. I told everybody this. It could have been all Ghostbuster females. I would have been okay with it. The problem is that it was trying to replicate the first movie by making it too funny, which it didn't need to be funny. First of all, I don't like none of the women because I don't watch much comedy like SNL, so I don't give a shit about them except for the blonde one. She's hot. Kate McKinnon, is that her name?
Yeah.
As Wallowitz, she can get it. She could get it with those glasses. I'm like, you know what? But everyone else, I didn't give a shit. My problem is that they force trying to be the first movie. So when you're watching it, you're going, oh, this is beat by beat the first movie. You could put the 84 with this movie, and it's kind of the same thing. They went into a Chinese restaurant because they couldn't afford the firehouse. If it's going to be a reboot, don't try to add shit from the 84, because then all the fans from the Ghostbusters are going to compare it to 1984 or 84. Why can you didn't need to go, we can't afford a firehouse. Just get the damn Chinese thing. You got the hearse? I like the hearse. I thought the hearse was cool. I like their proton packs. I thought those shits were cool. I like the new ghost trap. I like their suits. I thought it was pretty cool. My problem is that they did almost the same thing that they did in 84, but just trying to make it an SNL version of it. And it didn't work. I agree with Derek. I like the ghosts. It reminded me of the Haunted Mansion ghosts.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? This is really cool. It worked. But the sequences at the end, they had to have the big Stay Puft Marshmallow Man thing. I'm like, well, if this is a reboot, why do you have a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Because now everyone's going to add this. My only thing is, if you want to stay away from this franchise and the 84, do not have cameos from the original guys, because then everyone's going to go, why are Ghostbusters in a Ghostbusters movie playing another Ghostbuster? Because that's stupid. And just like everyone, I think Ben alluded to it, you're going to have Dan Aykroyd. I'm going, oh, look, it's Ray in the cab. They're not saying Dan Aykroyd. It's pretty much Ray. So I don't know. In terms of me, I think this movie failed in a lot of levels. In terms of script, I think when the actresses and the director is like, this is not part of the Ghostbusters universe, you already got almost half the fan base not going to see the movie because they wanted it to be in that universe. Everyone was fiending to get that movie back into the universe. Yeah. Then when they make the newer movies and they don't put the females in it, then the people are bitching going, wait a minute, it's sexist because first of all, you guys took yourselves out of that universe. Because if you were in the same universe, you could have been in Afterlife. You could have been in Frozen Empire. But since you guys decided to remove yourself from it, and now you're not partaking in the newer films, now everyone's a sexist. So it's like, come on, man, can't have it both ways. You want to remove these guys, and then you don't. I agree with Nate. It should have been in a newer. It should have been in Baltimore, somewhere different. I would have been, oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. New Ghostbusters. And if they wanted to do it in a new universe, they could have had the original 4 guys in New York, and these girls are busting goes in another place.
In Baltimore. I like Baltimore Ghostbusters. I like that.
Baltimore,
Jersey.
bro.
They destroy all of Jersey.
Ghostbusters.
They destroy all of Jersey.
There you go.
Louisiana.
That's the villain right there.
Yeah.
Louisiana. That would have been a very different. You could have had some voodoo thing.
Voodoo, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could do something like that. Like, so there's so much opportunities that they could have done, but they fell flat trying to replicate something that didn't need to be replicated. And I'll say this, the final boss scene, I thought it looked cool, but it looked like they were surrounded by 180-foot green screen. It did not look natural at all when they were fighting these ghosts. I was just like, man, see, this is where CGI and practical is so different when you see these things. So anyway, in terms of that, look, I don't think it's like the worst abomination known to man. I just think they fell so flat in terms of the execution. I think they had something, but I think it was the wrong actresses. Well, one of the 3 actresses was wrong casting, and I don't know. And then making all the males stupid. Like that's the trend that I hate. Making all the guys dumb and then the females are smart. And I'm like, this is like the wrong franchise for these things. But hey, look, it is what it is. They did it. It flopped. And onward to the next one. But look, like I said, it was, yeah, and on we go.
But
Other than that, it was okay. Like,
But here's the thing. In the comics, Alex, there was an all-female team that takes place shortly after Extreme that's led by Janine. Those were well-written characters in a universe that we already knew.
yeah, but you got to remember,
It was also well-written characters. And it was an all-female team at a time where you didn't have all-female teams in comic books.
right? But you got to remember, 2016, they're not looking at source material. They're making their own.
No, I know.
So
No,
I mean,
but I'm saying this comic book that came out with this female team, if they used that as a source material, it could have been a better movie.
could have.
Yeah.
But not happening now.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. They had
2 movies from
they
now.
had it. Yeah, they had it, but they dropped the ball.
Ghostbusters after Afterlife.
Ghostbusters
man.
After Party.
Well, on that
Ghostbusters
note,
After Dark.
Oh man.
we'll jump over to Afterlife, and I'll start with this one because I love this Ghostbusters movie. This is my number 1, so this is where my ranking would have spiced it up a little bit.
Ooh.
I like how this movie is much more serious. It's not a straight up comedy anymore. It's not silly. I don't even think I laughed much at all during this movie, but I love how they have the Egon Spangler character, him being the dad, and then the family has to move out to the dirt farm. I love how they call it the dirt farm too. That's kind of funny. Everybody calls him the dirt farmer. But I love that. It's very dramatic. It's very serious. And I like how they focus on this family of characters. They don't do too much. And we'll talk about Frozen Empire where they start doing too much, adding too much people in. I think this is a perfect amount of people to focus on. You got the mom with the 2 kids. And I think the kids are great in here. Like Phoebe, I think she's awesome, kind of, reminiscent of her grandpa. So that's a really cool connection. You have the mom who's all fed up with the science stuff because she was ditched when she was younger, so that made sense. So it's a well-written script. And Paul Rudd is like the heart and soul of this movie for me. He is awesome in this one. He actually has the comedic scenes. And I was just relating to him as a teacher. He's like, oh, summer school, we're going to watch this gem of a movie. Here you go, Cujo. Imagine Beethoven with rabies. Like, that is such a fun moment right there. So Paul Rudd is on point in this movie. I love how they, have the little marshmallow guys in this one. That's a really cool moment. And they tie back, the Gozer villain from the first one and all of that. I love that connection right there. So it pays homage to the first one, and they do bring in the other Ghostbusters towards the end, but they're not in the movie too much. They're not overwhelming to the movie. They're in it just enough for a really cool moment at the end. And I love the ghost with Egon Spengler. I know some people are like, oh, you shouldn't include him and all that. I thought it was done very respectfully. Like, he doesn't have any lines of dialogue. It's just for a brief moment. And you get to see all the Ghostbusters that they're kind of passing on the baton, the torch to the younger generation, I guess you could say. But I think the story is really clean in this one. I like it. I like being in a different area. We were all talking about, hey, let's get out of New York. Cool. We go to a rural dirt farm area. I like that. It changes up the environment. So, yeah, I just thought the story was on point. I thought the atmosphere was really good. The acting was really good. It doesn't get overcomplicated. I like the effects here on all the ghosts and the creatures. So I don't have a single problem with this movie at all. I think it's like perfection for Ghostbusters, in my opinion. So
you described it so well. The way you described it makes me, I mean, that doesn't make me love it, but like had that you made it sound so much better than it is. I do like it a lot, but you made it sound like, wow, that is a really good movie.
Yeah,
I just watched it today,
piggybacking off of Derek. Like, honestly, the way you explained it is not the way I saw it. Like, it's just like, I'm just like, you saw a different movie than I
version of this.
Yeah, that was a different one. I saw the
different version of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting.
Very well put.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
well. Very well.
And all that is true, I feel like everything you said, but it's like there's some stuff in it also that doesn't work.
A lot of it doesn't work. A lot.
What did it work with it?
Huh?
Because Mike said this is perfection.
Yeah,
now,
this
Derek,
is not a
tell him,
perfection.
why is it not?
Huh?
No, he
Why?
went to Derek. So I said, Derek,
Oh,
why
yeah,
is it not?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Can we hear Alex first, or should we
Oh, you
wait?
want me to go?
All right.
I don't.
He wants you to break my heart, Alex. Go
I'm
for it.
I'm sorry.
Stab him in the heart.
I will say this because I had a lengthy talk with Nate about this, and he knows how I feel about it. I rewatched this movie before we saw Frozen Empire, and to this movie does not feel like it continues from 1 and 2. Just because it has the Spangler family, and yes, it shows Egon doing this action sequence in the beginning of the movie. Other than that, there is no continue. Like, this doesn't continue, and it doesn't even feel like it continues. It felt like someone just took it and made a fan movie and said, "This is my version of Ghostbusters." That's gonna, tie the knot for the thing, and this is why. First of all, Egon and Ray are best friends.
Yes.
And if Egon tells you there's a portal opening in Oklahoma, you bet your ass Ray from Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 is like, brother, we're going. But no, not this Ray. He was like, he just woke up one day and took the Ecto-1, took the kaleidoscope, he took all this thing, took all that thing. Egon goes to hell. What? What the? You guys just busted mad ghosts in the 80s, and now all of a sudden when the guy who put all your equipment together tells you there's a ghost that's going to come out, Ghoster's coming back. Oh, no, you making the shit up, kid. Don't follow. You're going to. And I was like, this is bullshit. And this is why this movie doesn't make sense. Now, the family aspect, and I'm saying this now, and people around, I fucking hate it because this is not Ghostbusters. This is just them making his entire family now Ghostbusters. And like I told Nate before, and I'm going to say it again for the other one, it's Full House with proton packs. That is what these movies are.
Full House was
No,
one of my
man, this is dumb. It's dumb. From the first 2 films onto this one, it feels totally different. Phoebe, to be honest with you, Phoebe is out of all the cast members are the only one that I could say, you know what, you could take her out and throw her in the first 2 movies, and she'll feel like she's part of the crew. Mm-hmm. Besides that, Egon Winston, this dude died a week. And none of the Ghostbusters knew he died. Janine knew because she went to the house and she was like, who are you? And she was like, well, my father died and I'm here to sign the papers and blah, blah, blah. So she didn't tell Winston. She didn't tell Ray. She didn't tell Peter. They found out when Phoebe called Ray saying, oh, my grandfather died a week ago. And then he goes, oh, so sad. My best friend died. Come on, man. That's some bullshit. Like, come on, that's some dumbest shit. Like, that's lazy writing because you did not know how to fill the gap of Egon's death. And you know what? I could have did it in a heartbeat, super fast, how you could have did it. But the problem is that in a film like this, knowing that the Ghostbusters were all friends, and if Egon would have said this, it just, to me, there's a lot of open plot holes when you're watching the movies after watching 1, 2, that you're just going, how does this work? Like, if no one knew Egon had kids? Like, no one knew he had
And who's the mom?
Yeah. Janine knew he had kids? No one else
It's because
knew?
it's her daughter.
What is up with the
No
Ghostbusters
way.
movies and
It's
never
too
knowing who's the parents of people?
Yeah.
We don't know their mom. We don't know the baby Oscar's dad in part 2.
When you have Peter at the end of the movie going, "Hi, my name is Peter, and you are," and then she goes, "Oh, I'm Kelly, Kelly Spangler." He goes, "Oh, that's a terrible name. Good luck with that." I'm like, really? Like, you didn't know that Egon had kids? Like, am I drinking crazy pills seeing this damn movie? Like, honestly, the movie did a great job ending the film. Like, honestly, after Afterlife, you don't need to have Frozen Empire. You could have did a brand new Ghostbusters, new crew, new everything. Extreme Ghostbusters. You could have did that. You could have had a guy in a wheelchair busting ghosts. I would have been like, yo, this is awesome. Have the handicapped people getting on it too. But no, we had to continue this storyline. But we'll talk about the Frozen. But my problem with Afterlife is pretty much the continue with the Egon stuff does not work for me, because Egon was the brains of the entire place. And if this guy would have told you God was coming to Earth, they should have been like, yo, we're gonna have to bust God up. You know what? But yeah, I don't.
At the very end, doesn't like Ray even say when he turns to him, "I'm sorry, I didn't believe you"?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, Ray's the first person who will believe you.
Yeah, he nods his head going, "You stupid ass, I had to die for you to know that I'm telling the truth." Like, yeah, Bill Murray, you could tell he didn't even want to be there, because he didn't even say nothing to Egon. And then, Winston has said his piece. But yeah, that Ray and Egon thing, they should have never. No, does not work for this guy. But I'm happy that it was perfect for you. But not this guy.
Well, I got to dive into the plot holes and everything. I'm like, I'm just watching this movie. I'm just enjoying it, having a good time. It's like a coming of age story with Ghostbusters.
That's what happens when you get a guy on your show who's dressed as a Ghostbuster. He knows.
Alex will let you know for sure.
So, Alex,
yeah,
I wish they would explain the shooter's seat in the Ecto 1.
Well, the shooter seat was from the real Ghostbusters. See, in the cartoon, they had it on top of the Ecto 1.
Yeah.
Then they made it into the movie. They made it on the side, which I'm okay. That pretty much tells you that Egon was upgrading their equipment, like while he was in Oklahoma, which I'm like, this is all, look, like I said, this is all amazing. My problem is why did no one believe Egon? Like, that's my biggest problem. I want to sit down with Jason Reitman and say, who thought of this stupid ass plot hole? Because it's really
the
dumb.
Same plot hole that's in between 1 and 2. That there's no other ghosts. They did everything, and now, you think he's coming back again? Okay, after we've been without ghosts for this long, got it.
Well, I feel like they could have kept that too. Like, okay, Ray's not there, but it should have been, "I believe you, but I just feel like I'm getting too old for this. I can't. I manage the store. I like the store. This is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm sorry, you're my best friend. I can't do it anymore. I'm getting too old." That would have worked for me. I would have been okay with that.
That it was more because they were getting older, and also Egon did not give them a lot of information. Yeah, he said, "Okay, the world's ending," but he didn't really give a lot of context and details. He got all.
No, he did. He did give him context.
He did like whole story.
When he was talking to Phoebe, the guy hung up the phone on. He was about to explain what he was gonna tell, that he was telling him, and then the guy hung up. He was like, "Your time's up." So they were gonna get to it, but the thing is, when you see it, it's pretty much there was another portal that opened. They closed the first one in Manhattan, and then the second one, Egon figured out that Oklahoma was the secondary portal that was opening up where ghouls are coming out. That's all he was figuring out. It's just, to me, is like, we could go around on circles. The same thing. It's just a lot of this too much plot hole thing.
But the ghosts weren't coming out yet. I mean, Egon was doing the research, right? Like there's seismic activity, but
no, because remember he took all the
popping up yet.
Yeah, because he had the proton packs attached to the statues, blowing it right into the sacrificial pit. So every time the PKE meter was turning on, the ghosts were coming up, and it kept shooting. It kept crossing the streams and pushing it back down. So he was handling it down.
But nobody saw it though, right? Because even the people in the town didn't see it.
Only Phoebe and the kids when they went down there to look. They were like, "Oh, my grandfather was right. He sacrificed his life. He sacrificed us."
Yeah, so he was being private about it on purpose, though. Like he was keeping it low key. I think that's more what it was.
No, he told them. They just didn't.
I don't know. He could have given more phone calls. He could have, did a little trip and visited, and he could have done a little bit more too.
I mean, he could have.
They're really good friends. He could have tried a little bit harder on his part too. So.
Well, he could be like me. If I tell you something once and you blow me off, I'm not telling you again. That's your damn fault. Like that's it. So maybe that's what it was. He kept telling them. They blew him off, and he was just like, you know what? I'm gonna have to do this myself. So at the end of everything.
Also another enormous, huge plot hole. The firehouse was not turned into a Starbucks.
Oh yeah,
Dan Ray, he says it was turned into a Starbucks, and then later in the movie, even we find out it wasn't.
Yeah,
maybe the Starbucks went out of business. You never know. It was a short time.
Don't defend these holes, Mike.
No, it did not.
And you never know. Maybe Dutch Bros came into town and put them out of business. Like there's possibilities.
Even if it did, the ghost compartment, like that was still down there in Frozen Empire.
Maybe that went along with the Frappuccinos. You get a little ghost.
Little ghost.
A little ghost in your Frappuccino.
Their cream's the sludge from 2.
Look,
Also
I'm gonna go really quick because I don't have as strong of, and I want to hear what Derek has to say. I don't have as strong as feelings of this. I think this movie is pretty boring, to be honest with you. Where I'm gonna disagree with you, Mike, is I don't like the change in tone. To me, I don't want to watch a franchise that is a comedy franchise, because that's what it is, to then be like, we're gonna just be serious. We'll have a little bit of jokes, a little bit. This guy will be named Gruberson. Isn't that a funny name? He's
Gary Gruberson. That was a great line.
Hilarious.
He's
Gruberson, and then he's gonna go.
And then all the geometry jokes. Like, come
oh
on,
my
man,
gosh, we got some geometry jokes, and then we're gonna have some little marshmallow men. Isn't it funny? So, like, I don't like that. I don't like the change in tone. I'm okay with story switching tones in certain aspects, but this ain't one of them. And also, to these guys' point, as far as the writing goes, and you always hear this stuff with like Star Wars. Oh, the Force Awakens is just the same as the New Hope. The third act of this movie is the freaking third act of the first movie, except now there's different people busting the ghost, but Gozer saying some of the same lines. You get the dog, the hell dog things. You get the two looking all sexy, Gruberson and the mom. And it's like, I've seen this before. I've seen this before.
Ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, then let's just make every movie the same over and over. And we'll just leave it at that, because all the good ones will just keep making it with the same thing. So, like, it was just like, okay, it wasn't as exciting for me because, like, I've seen some of this before. And the last point, to Alex's point. Now, I don't know how old this mom is, but this mom got big teenagers. Okay, she looks a solid 35, and I'm not trying to be rude. She looks a solid 35. Okay,
I think she's
at
45.
least. Okay, she looks 45. We'll go with 45. She looks 40.
Today.
Yeah, okay, today, and this was 2021 when this came out, right?
Yeah.
So let's say she looked 40, and the last movie took place in 1989. Now, by my math, that's 32 years difference. Is that correct? 32 years?
Yeah.
So she should have been born in Ghostbusters 2.
Maybe she was the baby. Who knows?
The boy, it was a boy. That was Oscar.
She would have been born before Ghostbusters 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for no one to know who she was or that she existed.
Man, like, you guys know the family trees. You want to know everybody's connected.
You ever watched Maury Povich?
So
because it doesn't make sense.
So Callie is in her early 40s in Afterlife.
Okay, so that means she was like 5 when.
Yeah, I agree with Nate.
Happened.
Egon had no fucking kids in Ghostbusters 2.
and they're best friends, and he has a secret kid on the side that nobody knows about.
Now he was a player. You don't know, man. He was.
Now if it was Venkman's kid. Now, if it was Venkman's kid, it would be understandable that he did not know about it.
Sure, because he's kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's his personality.
But Egon doesn't seem like that type of player. It doesn't seem like that player type.
I think
That's what I'm
see it as a
saying.
He was
player.
a secret player, okay? He kept it low key. That was
But
his
Mike,
strategy.
the only problem with what like that theory means I have to now just make stuff up myself and just be like, well, you know what? Maybe he had a secret kid and nobody knew about him. He was a down low player and he kept her on the side and she lived in another. I shouldn't have to do that. If you're writing the movie, this should
Yeah.
make sense. And it doesn't make sense. Just
Well,
doesn't even line up.
It's just the making up stuff, and that's the thing. Just to make up stuff, just to make a story go, is what annoys me with this movie. Like, why does the kid have to look like Egon? So I can go, oh, that's Egon. Like, she literally looks like Egon in a girl.
Yes.
But the
Yeah,
mom
they,
doesn't look like
they try
Egon.
to act mysterious, like
Yeah.
whose family is that? You know right away whose family it is as soon as you see Phoebe. And the other thing of the script that I don't like, and this is a personal thing, and I know some people don't like it. So I don't like genius kids where they're just like smarter than everyone on earth, and they went to regular public school, they didn't do nothing extra, and they're just the smartest person in the room all the time. I'm not a crazy big fan of it. And then her brother's like dumb, pretty much. So it's like, come on. I don't know. I think this movie's okay. I when I walked out, I wasn't mad. But again, I think this whole franchise, everything after one is like, it's okay. It's fine. But there's a lot of holes in it.
Mucho. Swiss cheese.
Mucho holes. All right, Derek, I want to hear.
Well, everything that like Mike described when he was describing it, I like all of that aspect, but everything that Alex pointed out, that's all the stuff I don't like also. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I do like the shift in tone, especially because I know who it's coming from. It's coming from the guy who, made Thanks for Smoking and Juno and like
Up in the air.
Yeah, Up in the Air. Like, I don't know, for some reason that felt like a cool passing of the torch from dad to son. And I did like that. And I like all of the new cast. I do like Paul Rudd. I think he's great. I can actually picture him as an original Ghostbuster with his type of humor. And I like that he's not a comedian. I like that Carrie Coon's not a comedian. But yeah, it does feel like we are lacking. I mean, I guess we kind of get it with Paul Rudd, but maybe because he didn't spend time on SNL, it does feel like maybe there's a little bit something missing in terms of comedy, but I think he holds it up pretty well. And then Finn, who was already a Ghostbuster in Stranger Things, his stuff is good too, just as a teenager. But yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I have much else to say other than I agree both with Mike and Alex on it. And I did get a emotional at the end. I did tear up a little bit. All that was great to me, except the fact that they did the original Ghostbusters outside of Egon did feel like cameos. And I don't know, like you said with Bill Murray, like he couldn't even like get his lines out. Like, and I think it's because they were too scared to say, "Can we do another take of that?" Because I don't think he wants to be there. And like one of his lines just sounds like, you could have tightened that up a little bit. You could have fixed that. So I don't know. I guess I agree with both of you, but the more I watch that one, the less I'm into it. Also, it does feel a little chopped up. Do you remember the toy of the Sentinel dog?
Mm-hmm.
And the Sentinel dog is in this movie, but it's barely in it, and it's also like not explained, like the difference between the terror dog.
It just shows up at Walmart, right?
And the Sentinel dog. I think it's the one that Gruberson traps, isn't it? Like,
No. The terror dogs?
Well, yeah, there's you have the two terror dogs from the original one also.
Right, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, but then you have like the Sentinel dog too.
They showed that was supposed to be, I think that was the Keymaster form when Egon trapped them.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Because that's what they alluded to. Egon trapped one of the terror dogs in the beginning of the movie.
Right.
And then Gozer couldn't fully be powered. And that's what was the whole thing. When they let it go, it became, because it stretched out. So it looked like the Sentinel dog, but it wasn't. It was a terror dog.
It wasn't the Sentinel dog? Okay.
No, and that was the statue that I think podcast picked up. Like to allude to what it looked like.
Was awesome.
He was an amazing character.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
It reminded me of me when I was like a kid.
Yeah, he brings a lot of humor to it. He's good too.
He reminded me of Dan Aykroyd's character.
Yeah.
In the podcast. Where I'm gonna be honest with you, I know people are gonna be getting tight. They did not need the Stranger Things kid in this movie. I'm gonna be honest with you. He was useless. That
Really,
fit-
man, I
he
thought it
was-
was great.
I'm
I
a-
like the little romance thing going on.
Dude,
like,
Lucky,
diner, like, I
Lucky
thought that
and
was
Trevor
good.
is the two worst characters in this movie. You did not need
Oh.
those guys. Like the whole movie was. I mean, look at
But it's supposed
Life.
to be
The
a
whole
coming
movie-
of age story, you
No,
know?
it was
You gotta
coming of
have-
age of Phoebe. Everyone
She-
saw Phoebe, not Trevor. No one cared about Lucky. Everyone cared about Phoebe.
Right.
Yeah, I
Buckingham.
cared about it. I'm like, what's gonna happen to them?
But if you
Like,
didn't
are they
have-
gonna ride off to the sunset?
Oh,
Like,
Alex.
Jesus.
Alex, if you
Huh?
didn't have Trevor, would Phoebe, in your opinion, if Trevor wasn't there, would she have had another sibling?
No.
She could have been friends with
Because-
podcast.
Yeah,
Well,
she
no,
could have been
because-
friends with podcast, and the
because here's
Ghostbusters
the
would have been
thing.
podcast and Phoebe, and I would have been okay with it.
If you notice in that family dynamic, even yes, Trevor might be dumber than her, but he's the one who has her side on a lot of stuff too.
Not really.
He-
Because when the mother was yelling at her, saying that her grandfather was an asshole, he was in the top of the stairs like a little bitch. Like he didn't do nothing. He was just there like, he wasn't there defending his sister. Phoebe was defending Egon the whole time. Like the thing is that this whole movie should have been called Ghostbusters Phoebe Spangler's Origin.
Phoebe, no, just Ghostbusters.
Phoebe, yeah, pretty much. Because honestly, the whole
Ghostbusters
movie,
Spangler.
all the iconic moments of this film is Phoebe. Phoebe fixed for the first time ever. They opened up the proton pack and she fixed it. She turned it on. At the end of the movie, the most iconic. I cried like a little bitch during the ending of this movie when they showed Egon, who the Egon was holding hands with, his granddaughter, busting the ghost. Not Trevor. Trevor was sitting in the chair. Like I was like, come on, man.
Trevor got the short end of the stick in this and the next one.
Yeah,
Honest,
he
just 100%.
sucks.
Yeah.
He stinks in this
Well,
movie.
I think they also
wasted.
cast him.
Wasted.
I think it was also a promo thing because Stranger Things was so huge.
Yeah,
100%. That's what it was.
yeah. They could have got Dustin to play Trevor. I mean, you could have got anybody to
No
play.
matter who played
anyone.
him, if it's written the same way, useless.
Yeah,
No.
useless characters.
Mhm.
But again, this whole movie is Phoebe. Everyone went to see Phoebe. She was the most popular one. And you know what? Rightfully so. But you didn't need Trevor. That's just me. I'm just saying.
She just needed someone to talk to sometimes. It's
Yeah,
just like an extra
podcast.
body there to bounce a line off of.
Yeah, like that whole scene in the cafe when she was like, "Did you see the circle?" He's like, "Just tell me." I'm like, "Oh God." Like, just do the damn scene already. Like, geez, like it just, I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff that just irked me with the Trevor thing. Like I said, Full House, proton packs.
Man,
That sounds
But
good.
less funny than Full House.
everybody
This
giving
one
this
like
one the cold shoulder over here.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of cold shoulders,
Oh, wait till Frozen Empire.
Frozen
baby.
Empire. All right,
That
Ben Buster, you want to go on this one first?
Yeah, I
That doesn't sound good.
I love
This
that.
is
Yeah, I love that.
great.
yeah.
my favorite thing of this is they should have kept Ray and Winston only as the only two cameos, in my opinion. They made sense in the movie, whereas Janine and Peter did not. Because Winston's there, he's progressing the Ghostbusters lineage by doing work on what should have been Egon's life work, in my opinion, creating new containment units, learning to study these guys. That seems like something Egon would have wanted to do. And so Winston's kind of carrying that out. And Ray, being back in his occult shop, is like, okay, so if something else rears its ugly head, okay, we have all this information here. Those are the two characters, in my opinion, that made the most sense out of the original cast to show up.
As they were in the movie.
Yes, as they were
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. It just made the most sense because I could have done without the other ones, like I said.
Oh,
I like how the Ghostbusters team, and I might get flack for this. I know I will get flack from Alex on this one. I kind of like if they kept it as just those two. You had those two from the original, and you had the entire Spangler family along with podcast and the new crew that they had in Winston's lab. If you had that as your team going forward, that would have made sense. If that was because you have these guys, you have the Egon type, you have a Ray type now in those situations, more so than Phoebe was. Or podcast was. Now you have a actual lab and containment unit that you can actually work with that isn't a building that's falling apart. That you're worried that containment unit is going to break. You've captured these things. Why not study them? I think that was the next logical step in the evolution of the movie was what Winston was doing, trying to study the paranormal to try and understand why some paranormal entities pass over right away and some don't. Kind of like he's taking his thing from seeing Spangler still in Oklahoma and running with that, be like, why was he still here when every other ghost, where most ghosts could just leave and not stay around? Now we get into the bad parts. Here we go.
Oh, that was the good part? I was saying lukewarm.
Not as bad as this one. I cared less about that. I think the worst thing in this movie was the superpowers. We had freaking superheroes in here with what's his face?
Fire Master.
Now he'll with Fire Master.
Johnny. Yep.
Yeah. And the angle that they were taking Phoebe's character in, I could have done without either one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, Derek, what are you thinking?
Let's see. Well, the way you said Winston and Ray, keep them as they are, I agree. I think some tweaking could have been done with Janine. Something that we got in the trailer, but not the movie, was when she picks up the phone and she's like, Ghostbusters, what do you want? I was like expecting her to work for them again. Like she's, maybe retired at whatever job she had after Ghostbusters. And then they're like, okay, we need your help. Can you come back? You know our world. So I thought she was just going to be like working there again, which would have been cool. And I think she should have been, I think that's the way they should have gone with it. With Peter, I don't know, him showing up at the end with a cameo, like for the fight, like that was so like, again, he didn't want to be there. I mean, I think he did want to be there. He felt a little bit more like he liked it, but they just didn't give him enough to do. But when he was there with Kumail, I did actually like that because it reminded me of the beginning of the first film, with the zapping and everything in the cards. But I actually really liked this movie a lot. I like it more than Afterlife. I think when I sent you my list, Mike, I had it under, but now because I kept thinking about the emotional part of Afterlife at the end when I was like crying. But when I look at the rest of the movie, I think I really like Frozen Empire a lot more. I like learning about this bad guy, this ice demon guy, and how much we're learning about him at the beginning. And I don't know, maybe I like exposition or something, because like Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite movie of the Lord of the Rings films, and this one just kind of felt like that. We're just like learning a lot, we're building up to something, and then the something just kind of happens a little bit at the end. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that journey. The superpowers didn't bother me. I like that a lot. That felt like something that would maybe come out of real Ghostbusters. And we talked about like, what if they take Ghostbusters down to Louisiana, and then introduce voodoo? I feel like doing what they did there with the Fire Master would be similar or run parallel to something if they were to include voodoo. So that didn't bother me too much. I actually kind of liked it, and I was surprised because Kumail, I was scared he was going to be too funny and a little slapstick, which he is, but I don't know why. I just kind of liked it. This one I was very pleased with. I did like Phoebe's journey. I even liked Finn. I can't think of his name in the movie.
Wolfhard.
What is
Trevor.
it?
Oh, Trevor.
Trevor. Yeah. I like his stuff with Slimer. Again, he doesn't have a lot to do, but it's kind of a nice like punctuation between other scenes that we have. So that's kind of how I looked at it. He's someone they don't give a lot to, but when they do, it's like a pause, a comma in the movie. And I kind of like that about it in terms of the pacing. So I don't know. The only thing I would change is they need to make the end of these Ghostbusters movies different than the line of Ghostbusters staring at the bad guy and shooting at the bad guy. They're too static. They need to make them way more dynamic. I did like the dragon fight at the beginning because that was very dynamic in the car, but I want to see them dynamic as Ghostbusters running around. When I think of the first two films, it's the montages that I like, and those are moving quick, like when they're catching the ghosts quickly. And I kind of want to see that at the end, a lot of people moving around, because the original Ghostbusters, especially, they were just like standing there, standing there for part of it. There's a moment when you see Bill Murray just like standing, looking off the stage, and it's like, oh, what is he doing? You know, just they need something more for them to do. Maybe you could say there's too many characters, but I think it could have worked if maybe it didn't all happen within the firehouse. You know, I think of like Avengers, the very first Avengers movie where they had that long take where we're moving from Avenger to Avenger. I feel like they need to create a scenario like that in the city where it's just a more dynamic battle than just standing in a row and shooting your proton packs, shooting streams. But I still loved it. Still, I had such a good time. It made me think of the cartoon. And I liked that we had more than cameos, but Bill Murray needs to do more than the bare minimum.
All right, Nate, what are you thinking?
Okay. This is another one that's just so okay. I have pros and cons. I agree with I already know where Alex is gonna go, so I'm not even gonna step on his toes. And there's certain stuff that I know he's gonna go over that I agree with him on. What I will say is, visually, I like this one better than Afterlife. I think it's more visually appealing movie. Different director, Gil Keenan, a little more energetic than Afterlife. Afterlife is very shot like a drama, and this is shot like the kind of movie it is. So I like that. I thought visually it was pretty pleasing. I love that it's back in New York. See, the thing with taking him out is then once you do, I want him to go back. And it could have just been because it was Oklahoma and there's nothing there. And so I didn't like that choice, but I was glad to see them back in New York. I agree with what you both, Ben and Derek, said about Winston and Ray. They're the only ones that narratively needed to be in this film. They're the only ones that affect the plot. None of the other cameos do, and they're truly cameos. Like, they're just there because they were in Ghostbusters. There's no reason for Venkman to be there. Literally none. The part with Kumail, sure, it makes some sense, but after that, he could have just never been in the end. I think. Yeah. Okay, on to the cons. I think there's way too many Ghostbusters in this. There's way too many characters. There's way too many people wearing proton packs, shooting at the monster. The power stuff. And then for all of that, you got all these powerful, and then the new guy who's never been in anything is the one who like does this big fire blast and it's like, okay. And he could control the electricity too. He can move it himself. He doesn't, I guess that's fire. I guess electricity's fire. I guess they're the same thing. So that was a little weird. I do not like Phoebe's storyline in this. I think it's weird. And I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's weird in the sense of it's very hinting at, she has like sort of a crush on this ghost character, right? And I not think it's weird that she has a crush on a girl. I think it's weird that she has a crush on a ghost. That element to me it's bizarre. And that she's like, I'm you know what? I'd rather be a ghost than be a live human. Like, what? This is bizarre. And also, to my point on Afterlife, she's the smartest one in the room all the time, and she makes so stupid decisions in this movie, like multiple, where it's like, okay, I get it. It's one thing if you're being rebellious, but it's another thing to just do stupid things. So I'm not a fan of a lot of the choices they made with her. And yeah, I don't know. The Slimer stuff with Trevor, it means nothing. There's no payoff to it. He's up there, the Slimer he's eating. Then they do another one. And then the payoff is Slimer comes out and eats the pizza or whatever, and Trevor's like, yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah, this is like, that's it. That's what
set up for that one line.
So, yeah, a little underwhelming. But again, when I left it, I thought Kumail was funny. He had some decent laughs from me. So when I left, I felt impartial to it. I just felt sort of like that was a movie. It looked pretty good. I giggled a few times. I didn't like all of it, and then I left. So indifferent, I guess.
All right, Alex has been there waiting patiently to tear this
He's so
movie
good at that.
apart.
I'm just saying, look, I'm just gonna say is I'm sorry to everyone that liked this movie. All right. I'm gonna bust people's bubbles when I start talking. Look, in terms of a Ghostbusters movie, it's okay. It's not the greatest Ghostbusters movie ever.
Oh no.
Now, I'll say my pros really quick, and then I'll go into the major cons. One, I think Ray and Podcast doing the Repossessed, I think is one of the genius YouTube channels ever. And I think they should have marketed this movie with the YouTube channel with Dan Aykroyd doing that, like doing some type of marketing on YouTube.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean,
That would've
thank you,
been so smart.
Sony. Next time you could just email me. I could hook you guys up with some ideas. They could have did that. I think it was great. Winston in the film, I liked him because he just pushed along the film. Phoebe, I liked Phoebe a lot in this movie. The Ecto one in New York, I loved it. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. It's screeching down New York again. I said, this is awesome.
The empty streets.
In the empty
streets of New York.
You know it, right on the Holland Tunnel. I was like, yeah, right. That thing is so packed. Oh, there's no way. And then get to Columbia University. That's at 50 something. I think it's like 150 something street. So anyway, let's just, and I like the beginning. 1908. It started in the original, like, ladder 8, so you got to see the whole what this building means to New York, and it's like the gateway between the paranormal and whatever. I was like, okay, cool. It's cute. Little fluff in there they want to throw in. Let's get to the cons. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to get into it. The cons. Winston is fucking useless because you give, and this is narrative. I hate narrative like this. We're gonna make a Ghostbusters rich. How rich is this guy? Is he a billionaire? What is he? Right? They make him into this entrepreneur. He's filthy rich. So I say, all right, cool. At the end of Afterlife, he touches Ecto one. He says, I'm going to take you home, baby, and I'm going to clean you up. That's all he did is give it a car wash because the car is still a piece of shit. The movie started off with no AC. It had no electricity. Trevor's messing with it. So I was like, what the fuck did Winston do with his money? Like, what did he do to this Ecto one? Absolutely nothing. He gave it a car wash. Then, don't let me get to the firehouse. The firehouse is still abandoned in a piece of shit when it was dusty in Afterlife, and you have a billionaire bringing in a piece of shit car, and the house and the car is still a piece of shit. So what did this guy put his money in? Nothing.
The lab.
The drone trap. That's what he put his money into.
No,
the drone
I
trap.
get it. I get it. The gadgets. I was like, okay, cool. But again, another point in the story that's stupid. It is dumb. And that's what I'm saying. They're throwing narratives into this storyline with this Spangler family that creates plot holes. Okay? The beginning of the movie, the containment unit is filled with ghosts from 1984 because Egon didn't foresee that the trap is going to hold so much. But not Winston. He had a brand new one in Brooklyn and told nobody until they needed to. Like, what stupid writing is this? That you had to wait 20-something minutes into the film for them to take out Egon's blueprint and go, you didn't tell him? Tell him what? Oh, we had a brand new, bigger containment unit in a brand new facility that you're not going to know about until the middle of the movie. Shit like that irks me. And I'm telling you, stuff like that irks me because it's like, what were you doing? So are you keeping all this shit a secret while these people are busting ghosts with a piece of shit car and a breaking down firehouse? Like, that stuff like that irks me. In this movie, I was getting more irked the more I sat down and watching it because it's just plot hole after plot hole after. Ray is driving around on the Ecto seat. They only put it there because it's the real Ghostbusters vehicle. Why did he have this Ecto seat in a garage? God knows where, I guess under the Ray Occult building or something like that. Which, again, like that stuff like that it just creates too much. You got Garaka, right? The Frozen Empire King, right? Comes out. The whole world is frozen. The dude goes straight to the firehouse, and that's it. That's all he could do. Because he has no frozen dominions running around terrorizing New York. The containment unit busted open. Where did those ghosts go? Did it? Where did he go? Go to the sky and waited for the Ghostbusters to beat their asses to go right back in? Like, they had no scenes with ghosts terrorizing New York. They had no scenes with the frozen empire, Agaraga, summoning other frozen creatures. It was all spent on this final battle that sucked ass. It's one of the worst final acts, okay? None of the old Ghostbusters communicated with the new Ghostbusters. They didn't see how each other was doing. They all was like, oh, we're from the 84. We'll stand over here. Oh, Egon's family is over here. And we're going to have the iconic moment recreated with the entire family holding Phoebe. What was the point of proton packs if Phoebe was the only one that changed her proton pack to fight the main monster? Nobody else. Hey, Ray, can you tell me something? What happened, Phoebe? Can I put bronze in a cyclotron? And oh yeah, you could do that. I'll be right back. She cuts the pole, and everybody else is wearing the same shit, but not Phoebe. She was like, "Oh, I'm dipping my shit. You guys are screwed." And at the end, everyone is frozen like little icicles in a corner, and the little one just comes up. Hey, big guy, I'm gonna show you something here. Turns on her thing. Shit like that is annoying. Like that's so dumb. You didn't need all the Ghostbusters. You did not need all of them. If Phoebe was going to be the only, again, like I told you, Mike, that's why Afterlife was all Phoebe. Because in this movie, Phoebe, again, saves the day. Not Trevor. Trevor was a piece of shit. He didn't even need to be in this movie.
He was playing with Slimer.
He was playing with Slimer for nothing.
Yeah.
You had Lucky. Oh, that's another thing. Lucky is part of the Paranormal Research Center. She's now a genius. How the hell did she become a genius in the next movie? Like, she's working with
Internship.
It's a diner experience. Okay.
Yeah, wasn't she like a
Brother,
cheeseburger or something?
Dude, she worked at the cheeseburger thing, factory, whatever you want to call it, in a diner. In the next movie, she's shooting proton beams, creating gadgets. I was like, what? Lazy writing, bro. This movie irks me. I want to like punch the director in the face when I see this movie. There's a lot of I don't know. I feel like the more I watched it, because I saw it twice in the theater. I saw it the second time to see if all my validations was there. And it was. This is Full House with proton packs. Gruberson did not know he was a friend or a father. Right? Until at the end, when Phoebe was like, Dad, and he was like, what? Oh my God, we gotta go buzz some ghosts. Trevor, can I finally drive the Ecto-1? And the mom at the end goes, you could drive it. And he's like, yay! But don't go too fast because you're gonna hit the 100 people that's right here. Like, that shit is dumb. And then they try to recreate the same fun stuff that we liked about Ghostbusters 1 and 2 when they saved the world and you had thousands of people screaming Ghostbusters. You could literally tell that they were in a soundstage and they had the crew right there going, Ghostbusters! Yeah, Ghostbusters! Because I bet you see those same people somewhere else in other scenes in the movie, dressed up as someone else. Like
Alex, let me piggyback on what you just said, because this is annoying now that I really think about it.
Is that go ahead, brother?
You got Phoebe. Main character, because Mike, you like Trevor, right? You like Trevor.
He likes
Not the
Trevor.
first one, but
Okay, well, that's true. You liked him in the last one, but like, what is his arc? What is his arc? You go to this movie, right?
Yeah.
His story arc is he wants to drive the Ecto-1. That is it. The beginning of the movie, he wants to drive, but he has to sit in the back seat. The AC's busted. It's hot. Movie goes on. He meets Slimer. They do stuff for no reason. At the end of the movie, he's still talking about driving the stupid car. That's it. His entire plot. The girl, you said in the Afterlife, he got the little kind of romance with the girl. Nothing here. Nothing. It's like they didn't even know each other and they just met. And I'm like, what is he? To me, that's why he's a useless character. He's just there to to Derek's point, maybe he doesn't even spill exposition. Really, he does nothing. I don't know. I don't understand why they can't give him somewhat of an arc. In the original Ghostbusters, they all have a collective arc. Yeah. So everything they do ties together. Whereas here, it is just the Phoebe show. The mom has no arc in this movie other than she's disobedient. Gruberson, he kind of has one with the whole father thing. And Trevor just exists. He just exists.
But not even that. He didn't know Lucky was in New York. Because when he walked into
Yeah.
the, he was like, "Wait a minute, you were here?" And she was like, "Oh, Trevor."
And Phoebe didn't.
They
Phoebe
hugging
did not
each
know
other like
podcast was there
dumbasses.
either.
Right.
Yeah,
Phoebe had
So-
no idea podcast was there either.
that's lazy writing. That's
And
what
what
first of all,
parents
that's
just
too much.
send their kid to New York like that to live with a strange man in New York? Like,
Well,
yeah,
well,
he
podcast.
tricked
no.
her. He tricked them because he's.
But
But-
podcast said he was at space camp. He told
What
him
kind
he
of
was
parents
at
are
space
these?
camp.
This is 2024, not 1980, where you could trick your parents into thinking you're at space camp when you're in New York City, filming stuff on YouTube. It's like, come on, this is.
And you just
And
really,
then,
you just need a line change too to like fix that. Like, you know, it didn't have to be, oh, I didn't know you were here. It, you know,
Yeah.
she could have known. I don't know why they had to create that situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you had the other stupid moment from Afterlife recreated here also with Winston and Ray. Ray is yelling at Winston. Winston's yelling at Ray, going, "You can't do this no more. You know, those were kids. You could got danger." He's like, "I want to live the golden years," and blah, blah, blah. And he's telling him that Garaga's in this stupid thing. And he goes, "I don't believe you. I'm not going to do it." Dude, we just came from Afterlife where Egon fucking opened up the entire portal telling him he died and all this. And now we're going to go through the same plot point where Ray is telling him and he's not believing him. And I'm like, this is stupid. I was
Why
like,
does no one believe anyone in these?
That's
movies?
what I'm saying. Coming from Winston is another thing because he's like, I believed everything I saw.
No.
You know,
The
blah,
first
blah,
one,
blah.
we are ready to believe you.
Yeah.
And,
don't
and with Ray, why couldn't
So
he be the
dumb.
one to figure out all the Garaka stuff with the sphere? Why do we need another character of Patton Oswalt in there?
More
to do
characters,
that?
more
Yeah.
character, as many
Yeah.
characters as possible. Hundreds of
That's why,
characters.
that's why I miss the stuff with the original Ghostbusters. Whereas Egon and Ray doing their research, you didn't see it, but they had the Tobin guidebook of spirits. They had the little book, whatever research they did, and then they came back and they said, "This is what the bad guy could do." No, we got now this paranormal research center, and now we got all this stuff. To me, it's just way too much stuff. I mean, people like it; they're eating it up. You know what? More power to you, but this is not Ghostbusters. And they didn't even bust a ghost. They just did the sewer monster, and that's it. They didn't do nothing for the other 2 hours of whatever they did. It was nothing. It was the sewer, Phoebe's love story,
With a
busted
ghost?
it to the ghost, and then at the end, that's it. We believe you, ghost. And then Walter Peck was a piece of crap. You bring back the most legendary character, and I thought his arc was for a guy that was a non-believer. You're gonna have a scene with Garaga doing whatever, and he's getting terrorized by ice monsters, and then he goes, "We gotta get the Ghostbusters." Nope, we didn't get that because he was still a dick at the end of the movie, and I was just like, "This was horrible." You got Slimer back; he didn't even interact with Peter. What was the point? I don't get the points with all this, but I was like, wasted. And Jason Reitman, I understand why he didn't come back because he said that he wanted to do one movie and he wanted to let other directors continue on the Ghostbusters stuff with their vision. And I'm like,
I think this one was probably a little choppy too. I know they did a lot of reshoots. And if you look at Phoebe's teeth, she has her actual teeth, and then they turn into either veneers or caps. I'm not sure, but you can see that there was like a shift, and enough time had passed to where she had her own teeth to having different teeth.
Not to mention the fact she looks significantly older and has to play a little younger than she was in After. She was like literally a little kid in Afterlife.
Yeah.
And it was filmed
she
in the
was
COVID
12 in
time,
Afterlife, and now she's 15 in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
they
she's
said it was only a
17 in
2-year
life.
difference. They said it was only a 2-year difference.
She looks much older though.
But I would have started the movie at her real age, 17.
Yeah, why did
and
they
then
just
she
do
didn't
that?
have to put on prosthetics and all this stupid stuff to look 15.
Yeah.
It just
Can we say something about these last two movies? That the best part of it is the suicidal marshmallow men.
Oh yeah, marshmallow.
My cousin likes them.
They're just trying to kill themselves. So
yeah, that's
She
another.
thinks they're cute. She thinks they're cute. So I mean, they have an appeal. They have an
The
appeal.
Ewoks of the franchise.
I think this would have been a perfect. I think there could have been a scene in this film with Phoebe going through the firehouse and finding a letter that never got to Ray. And when she opens it, is Egon telling Ray the reason why, you could have tied the whole Afterlife going that he sacrificed himself because they all have families. And you could have did it in a way that, Ray could have read it, or she was like, you know what? But should have been a gateway on why he did and no one believed him. Like they could have did it in a letter form that Egon wrote and was just like, I'm taking all our shit. because I know you guys ain't gonna believe me if I told.
or even in a
Like a
journal
sacrifice.
of some sort,
Yeah.
or
'Cause
that he had there.
Didn't Egon sacrifice himself in the real Ghostbusters cartoon? I think he did. He let the proton pack blow up with him inside the portal or something like that, or some weird thing like that. But anyway, but that's
All
just
right.
me. What you got, Mike?
I mean, wow, you guys said a whole lot, so I might second a few of these points. But where I love Afterlife, I do not love Frozen Empire. But let me give some pros. The Phoebe stuff is the best. I actually do like the chess playing sequence in the park. I like the way the other ghost looks. It feels much more paranormal in this movie, so I like that. It's a little bit more of a haunting vibe with that. And I did not get the crushing part. You guys are like opening my eyes now with that. I just thought it was like a really good friend because she was super depressed. Her family was abandoning her because they didn't want her to be a Ghostbuster yet. So I thought it was like, oh, she found a good friend. And then she was contemplating suicide and dying. So they could have been like little ghost friends together, something like that. So I like that kind of it was getting dark. It was getting very dark and deep with that. I thought they could have even gone farther and explored that a little bit more, but then it just kind of ends at a certain point. But that was probably one of the better parts. I like the sewer ghost everybody mentioned. That was a really cool action moment with the flying drone trap. If they did more of that throughout the movie, that would have been a lot better. I do like the containment sequence where they had all the ghosts trapped. I like the jumping ghost that was possessing stuff, like possessing the trash. That was different. That was unique. If they could have used that even more. But okay, let's get into the problems. A lot of problems here you guys already mentioned. First of all, the title, Frozen Empire. Terrible, terrible title. Frozen. It was only Frozen for like 10 minutes of the movie. What the heck? This did not need to be called Frozen. And then it didn't need to be called Empire either. We just had like Godzilla X, new Empire, Frozen. Everything's using Empire now. Get that
Empire
title out
State
of
Building.
there. Yeah.
I think that's why.
You should just froze that and then shot
But
something.
yeah, that was the title just did not work for me. And then once again, you guys said too many characters in this one, way too many characters. And that's why, Nate, I don't think anybody got character arcs because there was just too many of them. I would have taken like 90% of the characters out of this movie. Like none of the old Ghostbusters. You don't need any of them in there. Winston for a cameo at the beginning, maybe, but you still could have took him out of the movie and it wouldn't have changed much of it. Like Bill Murray showing up made no sense. Like these characters do not need to be there anymore. We just had Afterlife where you passed on the baton. I thought we passed it on. I thought we were on to a new adventure. Like, let's move it along. And I would have been fine with the Full House Family Ghostbusters. I know, Alex, you don't like that. But if they just focused on a family of Ghostbusters, I would have been content with that because then they could have given character arcs to everybody in the family because they were already doing that with Phoebe. They were doing that with Paul Rudd. But with their so much focus being lost, it's like the mom had no reason to be there. You guys are right. Trevor, terrible in this movie. And they didn't even follow up the romance. Like, that's why I liked an Afterlife. I'm like, oh, this romance is starting. Okay, he's older now in this movie. Like, we're going to see some romance stuff going on. No, none of that here. The Slimer was pointless. Like, it was so lame. Get all of that out of the movie. And yeah, Melnick's in here. No reason to be here. And then did they recast Podcast or was that the same actor?
No, that's the same kid. He's just grown up.
They're all 5 years older now.
Age, he looked like a completely different person. I'm like, this is a little jarring to me. Like, what's going on with this? And it just too many of them. I would have said pick 4 characters. In Ghostbusters, you had 4 friends. Pick 4 characters. I don't care what 4 you pick, just pick 4 so we can focus on them. So if you want to go Paul Rudd and Phoebe and then, add in, Podcast or maybe another one, fine. But let's have a core group of 4. That's all we need to focus on. That's where it completely lost me. I didn't care for it being back in New York because we got already all the other Ghostbusters in New York. So I like them changing locations in the last one. Yeah, you could have changed locations again. I didn't need us to go back to New York. So that was irritating too. And the story, the villain, like you said, Alex, just one of the worst villains of all time. The ending showdown was so lame. I would have liked if it was just a containment unit, the ghosts, jump out of there, and then the ghosts are wreaking havoc, and you just have this family going after all these ghosts, and there's a lot of cool action moments. Like, that would have been a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable, but too many different stories getting mixed up here. We did not need the fire guy in here. Like Patton Oswalt, why is he in here? Like, he's a great actor. I love seeing him and stuff, but he didn't have enough of a part in this one. Nobody had a big enough part in this movie at all. And so just where Afterlife succeeded in everything, where I thought there was a good balance, I thought the tone was balanced, I thought this was just mixed and all over the place and just fell apart by the end. So it was just okay. It was okay. There were some cool moments in there, but no. We needed some kind of shared vision with like the same director or something here.
Well,
Just-
they had Jason Reitman right with Gil, whatever. But my thing is like you said, they didn't need Pat Oswalt, right? Whatever his name is. You could have took all his written parts out, and you could have had Ray, Podcast, and Phoebe go to the library and do all what he did. They could have went to the secret apartment. He could have had a funny moment going, no one knows about this, and hit something, and it opens a secret door into like the rare books that him and Egon found, or something, like messing around or something. You could have did something like that, or like Derek said, they could have did something at the end to utilize all these characters instead of having them on top holding Phoebe's arm to bust the stupid ghost, and then the entire old people in the bottom trying to close the containment unit, which is so dumb. They could have did it in a way, because while you were talking, I was like, wait, they could have had something fun where they could have went to different points in New York and activated a beacon, like a fire fucking beacon, and it hits Garaga, and he pushes him right into the containment unit, and Slimer or someone could have locked it, or something fun. You know what I mean? Like, they could have just put beacons around some type of New York while it's all frozen and people are getting attacked and stuff, just to brighten it up. Because I totally agree with Derek. Them standing in front of the firehouse, all shooting useless proton beams, and all he's doing is freezing it, did not even help. Janine they were all horrible. And I think that could have worked. They could have just, a group of them got into the Actor 1 when it went off, the motorcycle. They could have brought more gadgets, like the helicopter from the real Ghostbusters, if they wanted to. It's just a lot of missed opportunities with this film. There's no way they're gonna greenlight a sequel. I'm gonna tell you right now. This movie was $100 million to make. Supposedly it just hit $100 million. It needs to gross like 300 plus just to break even. I mean, just to even
It's
be
a $1 billion franchise. There's gonna be.
No, I don't think this is.
You know what? That leads us to our next question.
A lot of
then.
that money was made in the 80s, though.
Yeah.
Well, where should they go next with Ghostbusters? Because I know we're running over time here. So where should they go next? And while you guys do that, also after, let people know where they can find you, all that great stuff on YouTube. So let's start with this. Ben, where should they go next with Ghostbusters? What do you think?
Who? Ben? Oh.
Ben, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Ben? Yeah, where do you think they should go next?
Louisiana. If they have to make one, go down to Louisiana, like we've
Go
all
to
been
New
saying.
Orleans, Haunted Mansion it. I love it.
Yes, or Canada.
Or go to Canada.
I don't know why Canada. Just it's not. It's
Canadian
not in
ghosts
America
are more
anymore.
polite. They're nice.
Yes, you have to protect the maple syrup or something like that. So,
all right.
I don't see them like Alex said. It has to gross almost 300 million to kind of warrant a sequel, but there might just be enough people out there that would want to see a sequel that it will be greenlit anyways. But yeah, so I don't see it progressing other than these two movies.
All right, nice.
So,
and then Ben Buster, where can people find you? What do you got upcoming on your channel? All that good stuff.
Before this stream, I uploaded a video based off of the new Peacock movie that came out by the WWE, Bray Wyatt. The new Bray Wyatt documentary that's out. Bray Wyatt, what is it? Becoming Immortal. So I talked with a friend of mine who's a podcaster who does wrestling podcasts, and we sat there, we talked about the movie, talked about who he was and what it was about. So check that out on my channel if you haven't yet. I do movie reviews. So I talk movies, I do movie reviews. Go check out my channel. It's Ben Buster. On all social media, it's the Ben Buster everywhere. So made it easy.
Nice. All right, Mr. Hangout. Where do you think they should go next?
I want them to keep making movies until they have one that is better than all of the sequels. It can't be better than the first one. That won't happen. But I want them to keep making them. So I'm really sad to hear so many people think it's ending here. I want them to keep going. Maybe try Chicago, since a lot of the comedians, original people involved were involved in Second City. So that would be cool to see, but maybe that's too much like New York.
Ghost of John Belushi. Ghost of John Belushi and Chris Farley. That would be awesome.
Yeah. So either that, or I don't know. I do also like the Louisiana idea. Get some voodoo involved. I just want more movies. I don't think this is a good one to end on. The previous one was a good one to end on, but I think they need to keep going. Pull stuff from the cartoon. Remake the cartoon into a movie. Do that. Certain episodes. But yeah, my channel is Peer Hangout. Also on Instagram. On Instagram, I more follow people and like your stuff. Follow me and then I'll follow you and then I'll like your stuff. I'll engage. I don't post stuff too often myself. But yeah, Peer Hangout on Instagram and on YouTube. And I review stuff and rank stuff.
All right. Nate.
Okay.
Where do they go next?
Franchise needs to go to the great beyond. It's done. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I don't ever need to watch another Ghost. Matter of fact, I could just watch the first one forever and be fine. I don't need them. I don't hate any. I can't say I hate any of them, but I only love one. So it's like I don't really need another one. So yeah, I'm good. I don't hate any of their ideas as far as different location, adapting the cartoon. If they're going to, great ideas. I don't need it, but guess what? I'm gonna watch it because I see everything. So that's what I think about that. As far as where you could find me, I'll just do half because Alex is my other half here. So Geeks and Flicks YouTube, that's the YouTube channel. If you want to follow me, Nate Flicks Movie Reviews is my Instagram. And lately I've just been posting like movies and some movie scores and stuff like that. On YouTube, I do Out of the Theater reviews every single week. So every Friday, I review a brand new movie, whatever came out Thursday night. I go Thursday night. My review goes up on Friday. This week, I will have two. Usually I have one, but this week I'll be seeing Monkey Man, the new Dev Patel movie, and I'll also be doing a review for The First Omen. So I'm going to see both of those. My last one was Godzilla and Kong. That was a fun one. So yeah, I do movie reviews and stuff like that on the YouTube channel.
All right, Alex, where do you think they go next?
All right. Honestly, I think they should have just ended with Afterlife and then did a brand new Ghostbusters with a new cast. But they did it. They continued it. Honestly, well, I'm looking at the numbers here. It only grossed 111 million. And I don't think it's going nowhere near to 100. So if by the miracle of the movie gods, it gives it a sequel, I agree with Derek. If I would go into the real Ghostbusters lane, the monster that I would pick would be Pumpkin King.
Yes.
Or the Boogeyman. And the reason why I say the Boogeyman is because you could utilize someone like, I think it will work. Don't kill me. But if Jason Wong could do Boogeyman with the Ghostbusters, that would be a hit. Ooh. And the reason why is because the reason of Boogeyman is that he goes through closets and takes kids into another dimension. And the Ghostbusters have to go in and extract them. That was the whole point of the cartoon. And Winston was terrorized because he witnessed it and he freaked out about it. So it was like a fear into it. Like he had a scare of closets and dark. So that could work. Okay. Another one, and I'll say this one last, would be, if they decide to do another one, would be have another team go to other locations. Like, let's say Ghostbusters were called into the Empire State Building to bust a ghost. Another team gets there automatically and busts it before they get there. And they don't understand why this team is getting there before them. And then come to realize that the team that's doing it, and this is when you introduce new characters, is you can have Ray Stantz Jr., which is the son of Ray. You can throw that in, and then his girlfriend could be Wallowitz from Ghostbusters 2016. She creates the gadgets, and Ray's son is the one that is like putting all this together. It's like, you didn't want me to be a Ghostbuster, so I took it upon myself to bust ghosts, and Oscar. We're beating you guys.
Just make it Oscar.
Huh?
Just make
Or
it
Oscar.
Just,
Yeah, or Oscar.
yeah, just make it Oscar.
That's like Twister.
So you have Oscar, and then his girlfriend is Wallowitz, which is played by Kane McKellen. You could bring her back as that character, and then everyone will love it because it's her back as a Ghostbuster. But yeah, you can have that twist, and that would be pretty fun. People be like, "What the
money,
hell?"
Not the science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be pretty fun.
I love that.
I like the idea of the boogeyman because I always thought the Ghostbusters going into the ghost world, battling ghosts, or trying to extract someone out of the ghost world would actually be a pretty cool concept.
I'm sorry to keep this going. I don't know if people are trying to leave, but when you talked about the pumpkin episode, I was going to make a video on that. I'll just reveal it here, but I feel like that should be the next one, and it should be released near Halloween, and then basically make a Halloween movie. Like one that families will rewatch and like movie channels and network television will replay every year because it's a Halloween movie, and hopefully you can make it good enough to where it will become a Halloween classic, and it sort of keep again the Ghostbusters in your mind every single year around Halloween. Like that would be perfect if they made a Halloween movie.
Yeah. Oh, the Pumpkin King and Halloween, dude. You can do it in a way that Oscar is telepathically linked to the Pumpkin King because of Vigo, that the traumatization of part 2, that he has like a link to that, and he has just waking up in nightmares and he's seeing the face of him going.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? And he talks to Peter, and Peter's like blowing his ass off. Telling you could. I'm telling you, it could work. Jason Reitman, call me up, brother. I'll write your new movie. I'm just joking. But yeah, you could do something like that. I agree with you. Something that falls on Halloween could work, or the Day of the Dead. It falls on the Day of the Dead.
Yeah. Tell them where they can find us.
Oh, you can find us in the club. Bottle full of bub. Oh man, I'm just joking. You can follow us on YouTube at Geeks and Flicks. You can check out our podcast. We do an Action Movie Guys podcast. We're up to 343 episodes, I believe.
44?
I think 44 is Bloodsport. We were finishing off the Van Damme solo month, and then we're doing right now I'm gonna post it up tomorrow, would be the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. We're starting the Lord of the Rings franchise and Mel Gibson month.
Nice.
We're doing another one of those. So you guys want to check it out? You guys can listen to us on the go or on YouTube at Action Movie Guys. There we have a podcast. You can listen to it straight from the YouTube music or the actual app. In terms of my Instagram is Ecto1AL, Ecto1Al. That's my personal Instagram, but I don't post as much, but I post as much as I could. I'm not a big social media dude, but yeah, I post as much as I could. But yeah, thank you, Mike, for having us here.
Oh, of course. And everybody's links are in the description below, audience. So definitely show them some love. Go visit their channel. And of course, more importantly, watch the content. After you subscribe, we want to see people watching it because it's such a fun time interacting with everybody. So for me, where do I want to see Ghostbusters go to next? Well, we're kind of in a certain spot now because of Frozen Empire. So we can't change it up too much because I do want them to finish off this trilogy. What I would say is now just pass the baton finally, get the old Ghostbusters out of there. I don't know, make up an excuse, send them somewhere else. I don't know. Or we take these family of characters and they go to a new location. You guys gave plenty of good locations they could go to. But yeah, just focus on the Spangler family. Full House Ghostbusters, I'm all for it. Just make it fun, lots of cool action moments. Don't have any more, weird villains, and give everybody a character arc. I don't care what it is at this point. Just have everybody end with a strong character arc. That's all I want. So as long as they do that and give a proper title this time. No more Frozen Empire if it's not going to be Frozen at least half the movie.
Just let it go, Mike. Just let it go.
What? I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this movie would have been perfect to be called Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
There you go.
I think this one should have been called Answer the Call, not Frozen Empire. Like that's me. But yeah.
All right. And then for my channel, everybody, you guys know what I do here. We got tons of live streams like every other week. So just stay tuned, stay subscribed, turn on that notification bell so you know when a live gets posted. Also, physical media content like every day, doing physical media hunt videos, ranking videos, recommendation stuff, movie numbers, you name it. If you love movie stuff, there's something for you on the channel. And we're making the push to 2,000 subs. We're almost there. So, you know, a little tradition with Nate on the channel. This is all you guys gotta do right here, right?
Help me get one more.
That's all you gotta do. Help me get one more. That's all you gotta do.
Help me get one more.
Exactly. When Nate's on here, that's a tradition now. Every time that's
More.
for Nate.
I
So
love that
help
part.
us all get one more. But thank you, audience, for joining us tonight, talking some Ghostbusters. Definitely leave in the comments if you're watching this on the replay how you would rank the Ghostbuster movies. What are the pros, cons of each of them? We love to continue the discussion there. And just everybody have a great night out there and go bust some ghosts.
Later.